I need it. I need it. Let's go. The guy. All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. Hell of a show ahead. Is Trump going to get rid of one of his cabinet members, Joe Roms? And that one has something to do with sex. I'll be honest with you. My job is to be honest with you. It does. It does. So we also have fallouts from the tariffs and how Trump is trying to recover. He's got a lot of political trouble ahead. And as usual, here comes Israel spying on us, secretly sneaking in extra funding for themselves, etc. So as usual, hell of a show. Casper, how are you?
Living or surviving, well, however you want to put it, but I'm here. So.
All right, indeed, we are both here. Let's do it. Let's give the folks the news of the day.
Fair enough. I actually wanted to start off with something that the House of Representatives is set to vote on tomorrow, and that happens to be, well, that National Defense Authorization Act. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Here are the details. Congress is preparing to vote on the latest National Defense Authorization Act, and its spending is expected to surpass $1 trillion for the first time. Here we are, over $1 trillion per year dedicated to the Pentagon, the very government entity that's failed every single one of its audits. But here's what we know about it so far. So if you can remember, as part of the big beautiful bill, there was a supplemental included in regard to increasing military spending. It added an additional $156 billion for the Pentagon in that massive bill. Well, that money, the bulk of it, will be utilized as part of this nation's 2026 Pentagon budget. Now, on top of that, the NDAA will include $901 billion. And that NDAA will be unveiled by Congress and voted on by the House of Representatives tomorrow. After that, it'll head to the Senate. Now, Trump asked for a ton of money in the National Defense Authorization Act. You would expect that, considering the fact that he's edging closer and closer to a regime change war with Venezuela. Things really haven't calmed down in the Middle East. If you pay attention to Israeli media, there are still reverberations in regard to a potential hot war with Iran. So he wants a lot of money in the defense budget, that's for sure. But Congress not only did him a solid, they added an additional $8 billion to what Trump asked for, because they got to do right by their donors, right? Congress actually added $8 billion more than President Trump requested in the NDAA, and that's according to the fantastic reporting by Dave DeCamp over at antiwar.com. Now, that might not be enough for the American war machine. Before I give you more details on that, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so in this bill, we're getting screwed by 2 different entities. As always, Israel's involved. We'll get to that. But mainly the defense contractors. They're the much bigger problem in this bill. And since the defense bill is unquestioned, this is where they really raw dog us. So you're about to see that in all the facts. And of course, keep in mind, we asked them to cut defense. MAGA voters agreed. And then, of course, their politicians betrayed them. Let's show you how they betrayed them.
I like the word betrayed a lot better than raw dog when it comes to the government screwing us, but I get the sentiment and I appreciate it, I guess. But let's talk a little bit about what Pete Hegseth has been saying, because apparently he was speaking at the Reagan National Defense Forum over the weekend, and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, says, we received a historic boost in funding last year and believe that is only just the beginning. We need a revived defense industrial base. We need those capabilities. We need them yesterday. And so, resource wise, I think this room will be encouraged by what we'll see soon, but I don't want to get too ahead. So that was a little bit of a foreshadowing of what was to come when it came to the defense budget. But I will say, we're already hearing from one Republican lawmaker in the House of Representatives who's pushing back on the cost of this bill and certain provisions within it. And that would be, unsurprisingly, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wrote on X, "This week, we are voting on the National Defense Authorization Act that funds our military, and it's once again filled with America's hard-earned tax dollars used to fund foreign aid and foreign countries' wars. These American people are $38 trillion in debt, suffering from an affordability crisis, on the verge of a healthcare crisis, and credit card debt is at an all-time high. Funding foreign aid and foreign wars is America last and is beyond excuse anymore. I would love to fund our military, but refuse to support foreign aid and foreign militaries and foreign wars. I am here and will be voting no." And in that post on X, she also included, some information about what's in the National Defense Authorization Act. So you'll get a sense of how much money is being dedicated to Israel's defense. It authorizes the following program amounts for fiscal year 2026 for Israel. That includes $500 million for Israeli missile defense, $80 million for US-Israeli anti-tunnel cooperation, $50 million for US-Israel anti-drone cooperation. There's more. There's also money for Taiwan. It authorizes up to $1 billion for Taiwan Security Cooperation Initiative, fiscal year 2026. Baltic Security Initiative authorizes $175 million of security assistance for Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, fiscal year 2026. I mean, I've got nothing against these countries. I'm glad we're taking care of their security. Be nice if Americans were taken care of with their own tax dollars for once in our lives. But let me continue. Overseas humanitarian disaster and civic aid authorizes $103 million for Department of Defense humanitarian assistance programs in fiscal year 2026. And then there's more. I mean, you look at the Middle East programs, authorizes the following programs for fiscal year 2026: $357 million for the government of Iraq, Syria militias, Kurdish security forces, and Lebanon. Over $100 million for support to Middle Eastern countries to increase security along their borders. And it also directs the Secretary of Defense to provide assistance, including equipment, support, and supplies to the government of Jordan and government of Lebanon. I'm gonna venture to say that it's not to protect them from Israeli aggression, which is really their number one threat. It's to get them to play along with Israel, to play nice with Israel. In fact, the second country receiving the most US aid is Egypt, precisely because the US wants Egypt to play nice with Israel. So money well spent. Am I right, Americans?
Yeah, so look, we're used to Israel screwing us, and for our politicians to get legally bribed by them, which 90% of them do. That's why they do these things. Of course, it has nothing to do with national security. So we're gonna fund all sides of the Middle Eastern conflicts. And Anna's right, of course, the only reason we give to the other Middle Eastern countries is because Israel orders it. Oh, here, give your money instead of my money to my lackeys in the Middle East, the Jordanians, the Egyptians, and all the governments that Israel controls. By the way, you'll also have to give money to the governments that we attack, and we'll destroy their capitals. We'll attack Damascus, Beirut, Doha. We'll attack any capital we like, any country we like, and then the stupid American taxpayers will be forced to pay for it because we bribed all of your officials. And there's nothing you're going to do about it. You're just going to sit there and be a servant state of Israel. And then you listen to your national media tell you that, oh yeah, no, Americans, you owe Israel. You owe them 30 billion during genocide, 300 billion overall. You a memorandum of understanding that's going to be for 20 years, where we're going to give them another $80 billion. You owe them all of this. And if you complain, you're an anti-Semite. So all that is Tuesday. You will definitely get screwed. Almost no one in Congress will help you. The overwhelming majority of the Democrats will vote yes on Israel aid, even though 92% of their voters are against it. because we don't live in a democracy. We live in a kleptocracy where the donor class robs us blind. But in this bill, the defense contractors rob us a hell of a lot more than Israel does. And it makes sense. They also bribe our politicians, and our politicians are the worst people on earth, and they also respond to those bribes.
In fact, let me give you very specific examples of how this is more beneficial to defense contractors and weapons manufacturers as opposed to any other group, maybe besides Israel. So, one of the things that Trump has done in the past is he's pushed for troop drawdowns in certain areas. This bill would prevent him from being able to do it again in the future. So, a measure to block troop drawdowns from South Korea and Europe, as Russia hawks in both parties are unhappy with President Trump's recent decision to pull some troops out of Romania. So basically, they're trying to block Trump from being able to do that again in the future. It's interesting because he's, free to carry out all sorts of military activity all across the globe. We've been bombing the hell out of Somalia for literally decades, but the bombings have really ramped up under Trump in his second term. There's also an amendment to lift the Caesar Act sanctions on Syria, which were imposed back in 2020 and designed to prevent the reconstruction of the country until Bashar al-Assad was ousted. Think about how evil that sanction is, by the way. Think about how evil it is. We're gonna make all the people in Syria suffer, all the people who lost their homes and the bombings and everything, unless Assad stepped down. But if that doesn't happen, we're not gonna allow them to reconstruct a damn thing. But the final thing I want to get to, Cenk, that's really important to talk about here is how the latest National Defense Authorization Act is not only expensive for US taxpayers, but it also provides added protections for Israel should any country on the globe decide maybe we don't want to do business with them anymore. Maybe we don't want to supply any weapons to them anymore. So page 1269 of the roughly 3,000 page document details this new amendment, which requires the US Secretaries of War and State, as well as the Director of National Intelligence, to conduct reviews of the impact of the scope, nature, and impact on Israel's defense capabilities of current and emerging arms embargoes, sanctions, restrictions, or limitations imposed by foreign countries or by international organizations. Now, let me just note that the bulk of Israel's weapons are paid for by the US taxpayer. The bulk of the weapons are American-made weapons, but around 30%, 30% of the weapons come from Germany. And there was a brief, little moment where Germany was maybe a little horrified over what's been taking place in Gaza, and they threatened to withhold offensive weapons from Israel, but they turned that around real quick. I don't think it ever even really happened. Now, US officials are also required to assess the resulting gaps of vulnerabilities in Israel's security posture against shared regional adversaries such as Iran and Iranian-backed terrorist groups such as Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Hezbollah, and its ability to maintain its qualitative military edge. And so through these assessments, which are supposed to take place once every 180 days, if they find gaps in Israel's ability to be genocidal lunatics, the US will jump right in, and our weapons manufacturers will provide the weapons paid for by American taxpayers, of course.
Yeah, so let's understand this better. So other nations, almost all other nations, are saying Israel's a rogue state that keeps attacking its neighbors and had just committed a genocide in front of the whole world. So even though we normally work with Israel and normally they act like America, the European countries, and do whatever Israel commands of them, they're like, this is just a bridge too far. So these war crimes are too obvious, too brazen, and they won't listen to anything we say. So, okay, we're not going to fund their military anymore as it pertains to them taking offensive action to commit these war crimes, right? And America goes, oh, we'll be your huckleberry. We'll pick up the slack. We love war crimes as long as Israel's doing it. Any other country, you're gonna go to the International Criminal Court, we're gonna pursue you and pretend we care about human rights. But if Israel does it, we not only love it, we're gonna force American taxpayers whose wages are way too low, all the prices are way too high, but we're gonna take money out of their pockets to always fund Israel's war crimes. That is literally what this provision is. since other countries refuse to fund. By the way, why does the whole world owe an obligation to Israel, period, let alone an obligation to help them commit a genocide and to finance that genocide? What a disgusting, sick, perverted, insane demand that Israel has of the whole world. But since now the rest of the world has woken up and realized, yeah, we don't want to help genocidal maniacs that never follow international law, well, it's upon the American taxpayers to pick up the slack. Because why? Our politicians are the very worst people on earth. They're the most corrupt, and they will do anything for money. And since the Israeli lobby is super strong here, funds 90% of Congress, has given hundreds of millions of dollars to the most corrupt people in the whole country, the people you should respect the very least, which is all of our senators, almost all of our senators and Congress people, you should actually despise them. Since they have betrayed you for money, they will then say, take your money and send it over to Israel to commit more war crimes, massacre more people, and by the way, create way more enemies for us here at home in America. But don't worry, we'll have to fight that next war, of course, on behalf of Israel.
Well, speaking on behalf of Israel, we should talk a little bit about how Americans, not just here in mainland USA, are treated by the Israelis, but more importantly, how our troops are treated by Israelis as they're deployed in Israel. So let's get to the details on that. Israeli operatives have been spying on US forces who were stationed in Israel, and that's according to sources who spoke to The Guardian. Now, the spying got so out of hand, so out of control, that it got to a point where US commanders had to essentially confront the Israelis and tell them to knock it off. Cenk, your 2 cents?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the beans, as my daughter says, but you're going to be shocked to find out there were no consequences. Because we are Israel's bitch. And this story will be among the 100 stories we've covered that prove it without any shadow of a doubt.
In fact, if you might think that it's egregious, it's ridiculous to claim that such a close and special ally of the United States would be spying on us or spying on our troops, I just want to give you a little piece of video here. This was an interview that was done on Patrick Bet-David's show with a former CIA agent who became a whistleblower. And here's what he had to say about his experience with the Israelis when he was in the CIA.
We don't allow the Israelis into CIA headquarters because they would always come with gifts, and the gifts had always listening devices packed inside them. And somebody brings you a gift, you x-ray it. It's the normal process. And we're like, you guys can't keep coming back here every single time trying to bug our conference rooms. So no more. So,
and was it easy to x-ray and see that they had bugs in them?
Yeah.
What percentage of the time did gifts have bugs in them?
100%.
Be quiet.
No, seriously.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely not. I wish I was.
100% of the time they brought gifts that had bugs in them.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, no more. You can't come on campus anymore.
Will you guys joke about it with them? You're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is this?
So
was it like a joke?
Come on, you guys. No, they were serious. They were hoping one would slip through.
John, was that across the board with everybody that didn't trust them the most?
Oh, yeah.
What percentage of guys you work with didn't trust Mossad?
100%.
Just some interesting context for you to absorb as I give you the details of what we've just learned. So look, the spying that is now making news took place at a US base that's known as the Civil Military Coordination Center, or CMCC. So it's located in southern Israel, and the soldiers are specifically stationed there to monitor the so-called ceasefire that's not really a ceasefire. I mean, over 300 Palestinians have been slaughtered by the Israelis since the ceasefire took effect. But nonetheless, they're not just monitoring the ceasefire. They're also trying to find a way to fully implement Trump's alleged peace deal, the 20-point plan, if you will. And there is one thing they've been doing that's actually been helpful, according to what the experts are saying. So one group is excluded from some of this planning, by the way, when it comes to the 20-point plan and implementing that. And unsurprisingly, that's the Palestinians. Efforts to bring Palestinians into talks through video calls were repeatedly cut off by Israeli officials. Sources involved in or briefed on discussions say. That should be very unsurprising if you've been paying close attention to this story and if you've been basically disregarding propaganda coming from the Israeli side. Now, The Guardian reported that the logistics experts were among the US soldiers stationed at the base, and they were tasked with figuring out the best way to get more humanitarian aid into Gaza. But those experts quickly realized that one of their biggest obstacles happens to be Israel, which keeps barring or blocking legitimate humanitarian aid, claiming that it's a dual use item, meaning that it could be used for, military activities. So diplomats find that the CMCC is important in convincing the Israelis to modify their lists of barred or banned supplies entering Gaza. And so that's good news. And by the way, some of the things that they try to bar includes things like tent poles, which, when you consider that upward of like 93% of the residential buildings have been completely demolished, tents are kind of important. You need some form of shelter, but Israelis try to ban that from going into the enclave. They also try to ban chemicals needed for water purification so people can have clean drinking water. Now, the Israeli government still refuses to allow certain foods in certain goods in, like, let's say paper, pencils, stuff like that. But back to the spying angle of this story. As we mentioned earlier, Israeli operatives have been spying on the American troops working over at the CMCC. The scale of intelligence gathering prompted the US commander of the base, Lieutenant General Patrick Frank, to summon an Israeli counterpart for a meeting to tell him that recording has to stop here. Now, some of Israel's other allies, including the UK, have forces at the CMCC as well. The Israelis reportedly spied on them as well, because of course they did. When asked for comment, the IDF stated, quote, "The claim that the IDF is gathering intelligence on its partners in meetings, which the IDF is an active participant, is absurd." And that was it. That was the extent of their denials, which to me amounts to nothing. I think they will continue spying. And you're right, Cenk. I mean, if there aren't any consequences for it, why would they stop?
Yeah, they own us. So they're like, look at this funny general thinking that he's the boss of us. Now shut up, give me $300 billion and know your role. Sit there and let me spy on you. What are you gonna do about it, General? What are you gonna do? The answer is nothing, because your politicians work for us, Israel. So there's nothing you could do. We can spy on you all day long. In fact, the last time not the last time they spy on us 24/7, they're the world's worst ally. I think they're an enemy posing as an ally, and that's why they constantly spy on us. They stole our nuclear secrets. Do you know how dangerous that is for a rogue nation that doesn't follow any international law, that we just saw with our own eyes committed genocide, and that thinks that they're constantly in mortal danger and they have to murder everyone around them to make sure that they do self-defense? They have a nuke now because one of our own betrayed us, sold us out, and gave that information to Israel. And the American press treated it as like, oh, it's totally normal. That's normal. Today, by the way, he was eventually pardoned by a combination of Obama and Trump. Yeah, the Democratic and a Republican president, both helping a traitor to this country. That's normal. They tell us it's normal, right? And then he was flown out in a private jet by Sheldon Adelson, Trump's #1 donor, who demands that he work for Israel. And Trump says out loud, yes, I moved the embassy and changed American foreign policy on behalf of Sheldon Adelson, and he pardoned a traitor on behalf of Sheldon Adelson. But if you say things that are factually true, our press gets so mad because they're like, you're supposed to do pro-Israel propaganda. In fact, CBS Evening News now is going to be led by Tony Dokapil. He's the clown that challenged Ta-Nehisi Coates, and is the most pro-Israel anchor in all of CBS. And Barry Weiss, of course, made him the lead anchor at CBS. But if you point that out, they're like, you're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to say it. Well, we're saying it, we're shouting it from the rooftops. Our politicians are completely corrupt. They all work for Israel. When Israel betrays us and spies on us, they go, thank you, sir, may we please have another. Please betray the American voters. I don't care about them at all, as long as you bribe me and as long as the check clears. And besides which, I got air cover, because all of cable news and all of mainstream media is going to pretend that the people pointing out the bribery, the people pointing out the treachery and the spying are the bad guys filled with hate. And the people doing the treachery and the genocide and the robbery are the good guys who should never, ever be questioned. Now, look, guys, it's a simple thing. Today in social media, we talk about this. And of course, all the Israel First accounts go, so what? So what? Everybody spies on everybody, so what? It's totally normal. It's normal. You should know your role that we get to spy on you and there's nothing you could do about it. You stupid Americans, you work for Israel and you have to accept that that's the new normal. It's not normal for a country to give another country $300 billion and have that country betray them over and over and over again. That is not anywhere near normal. The only reason why anybody might think that is because almost all of traditional legacy media in this country works for Israel enthusiastically and tries to eliminate anyone with a legitimate criticism of Israel, tries to ruin their careers and destroy them on behalf of a foreign country. We don't run America anymore. Israel runs America. This is just another example of them rubbing it in our face. We'll spy on you. There's nothing you could do about it. And then we'll get your sellouts in the press to tell you that it's perfectly normal. It's not anywhere near normal. And we're a servant state of Israel. And if you think I'm obsessed by it, you're absolutely right. I didn't come to America to be anybody's servant.
You know, I can wear almost any dress I want in Israel. So maybe we should be okay with them spying on us.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, that's why they should spy on us. That's why you should all work another shift and another shift and send all that money to Israel because you owe them and you haven't given them enough. Maybe they should get a second genocide and maybe they should steal the rest of Gaza and all of the West Bank. Right now in the Trump peace deal, they say you are not allowed to annex the West Bank. And Israel just said today, like, shut up. Who do you think you are? Give me the goddamn money and I'll annex the West Bank. You'll say nothing about it. And our representatives, as usual, said, I'm so sorry, sir. Of course, sir. Of course, I serve Israel loyally, sir. That's what's happening in this country, 1,000,000,000%. Anyone else telling you otherwise works for Israel. And they're doing propaganda and it isn't anywhere near factual. They're a bunch of spies. They're a bunch of traitors. And they're betraying this country over and over again for the country that they actually serve, Israel.
When we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit about the economic pain Americans are faced with and how Trump is responding to that pain. Don't miss it.
I meant to say at the end of that story, something real quick and simple. If I was an honest leader of America and I saw Israel spying on us, I'd say, that's it. You just lost all your money. I'm cutting all your funding. And that memorandum of understanding you wanted where you robbed us for 20 years straight, that's gone. Okay, go ahead, spy on us again. See how it turns out. Maybe next time we ask for our money back. Go ahead, I dare you to spy on us. You know how much spying we'd have? All of a sudden, they'd crap their pants. And they'd say, oh, okay. Yeah, no. Come on, guys, come on. Guys, the reason I get frustrated, you know why? Because mainstream media is a brainwashing machine. It's an assembly line of pure propaganda pretending to be objective news. It disgusts me at my very core. I can't stand them. All right, because it's not about us, it's about you guys. They lie to you 24/7. Pretending to be news. I loathe them. The Transcendental Man says Puerto Rico is still suffering from the disaster relief aid that was withheld during Trump's first term. Puerto Ricans are Americans, revolution now. Yes, peaceful political revolution, 8 o'clock Eastern every day. We're trying to figure out how to do it. It's super hard, of course. We've made some progress. We got an American kid back from an Israeli torture chamber out of the, because so many Americans were like, enough, you jerks, you disgusting freaks who torture American children. He's lost 30% of his weight. He's got scabies. He didn't even do anything wrong. Can we get our American child back? And they're like, on Thanksgiving, we shall give you one of the Americans we have kidnapped back. Are we not merciful? No, you're not. You're disgusting. Mr. Polybius says, I'm reading these blinds. Imago Dei is the Christian doctrine that all mankind is made in the image of God. This is why us hardcore evangelicals oppose abortion. The GOP lost my vote. Free Palestine, free Artsakh. There you go, brother. A human being is a human being made in the image of God. Whether you're Christian or any other religion, that is the very, very foundation of all of the religions. Made in the image of God. But the Israelis say, no, we're allowed to murder Palestinian children, tens of thousands at a time. And if you complain, you're immoral. You're immoral for caring about the lives of innocent children. Now shut up and give me your stupid American money so I can kill more Palestinians and steal their land. They stole half of Gaza. Every day I'm gonna tell you they stole half of Gaza. No one in cable news, no one in mainstream media is telling you, oh, by the way, PS, after we gave them $31 billion and they slaughtered 70,000 people at a bare minimum, they stole half of Gaza, just like we told you they were going to. Fawaz Synthetic Soul says Israel's aggressive, friendly espionage now breaches the CIA, planting a digital bug deep within the agency's core. This is not just spying, it's systemic penetration. The tolerance for this alleged allied betrayal will collapse itself. Political damage control can no longer contain that outrage, the revolution enlarging till it will explode. Politically, rhetorically, I add, and that's how it should be. And so, yeah, I mean, look, the guys like Fetterman and Trump who took the golden pagers from Israel, what a bunch of losers, idiots, and lackeys. Do you think they don't have a bug? You moron, the CIA agent just told you they bug literally every device that's in the Oval Office now. Oh, gee, I wonder why they have leverage on Trump. They're so stupid. Back. Back on TYT, Jen and Anna with you guys. Guys, we try to save you money with our sponsors. I think we do a great job of finding the right folks for you guys. Noble Mobile is definitely the right carrier. I switched over. I'm saving a ton of money. $39 a month was my bill last month. Is yours 39? No way. Yours is way higher. For 9 out of 10 of you, at least. So for God's sake, you don't change anything about your phone. Please trust me on this. It takes about 5 minutes. TYT.com/switch. TYT.com/switch. Noble Mobile's Andrew Yang's company. He loves to give away money. So in this case, it's perfect. There's no reason not to do it. So check it out. TYT.com/switch. Anna.
Let's talk a little bit about the latest in our economy, starting with this.
I do want to talk about the economy, sir, here at home, and I wonder what grade you would give your economy. A plus.
Yeah, A plus.
Right now, people are buying their holiday presents. They're planning.
Look, don't be dramatic.
No.
Don't be dramatic.
They're planning their budgets for next year, Mr. President.
I know.
President Donald Trump is a piece of crap. And you just got a little taste of how much of a piece of crap he is in the clip that we just showed you. Because while Americans are struggling economically, as we're already in the middle of the holidays, he just wants you to relax and not be so dramatic about it. Who cares? I mean, why don't you just cook up a crypto scheme like he and his family did? What's wrong with you? Anyway, despite continued high prices and absolutely disastrous economic polling numbers, Trump is giving himself an A+++++ grade on the economy. And those comments came ahead of an event that he's doing in Pennsylvania today, specifically to tout his efforts to bring down inflation. We'll get to the reality in just a minute, but first, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, did you notice the Freudian slip by the anchor? People are buying American presidents. They are indeed. Okay, so, and then he says, don't be so dramatic. Well, then I guess Trump is the biggest drama queen there ever was. He ran a whole campaign on inflation and high prices. And now when it comes around the holiday time and people are worried about not being able to buy presents for their family, it's like, don't be so dramatic. Who cares about you? I'm already got all the power and the money, so screw you. And the rest of the story will be all of the ways that Trump is telling you that he doesn't give a goddamn about you.
I mean, Trump is the guy who responded to a video of 5 Democrats telling military members to not carry out illegal or unlawful orders with treason. They should be executed. Like, I mean, that's just the way that he didn't say that specifically, but that's what he's implying. Nonetheless, he's always stoic, not dramatic at all. Now, for the past few weeks, Trump has repeatedly called the idea of affordability a hoax and a Democrat con job. He claims that prices have actually fallen during his second term. Now, does the reality bear that out? Well, the consumer price index did rise 3% over the last 12 months. And grocery prices have also risen 1.4% between January and September, meaning during his term. And Trump's tariffs have raised American households' costs this year by around $1,500. But during this interview with Politico, Dasha Burns asked Trump to respond to one of his own supporters criticizing the state of the economy. Remember, this is someone who voted for Trump, so hopefully he handles it delicately. But unsurprisingly, he dismisses her concerns. Let's take a look.
I talked to a supporter of yours. Her name is Melanie from Westmoreland County, PA, and she loves you. She gave you overall an A++ grade. But here's what she said about the economy. She said, quote, groceries, utility, insurance, and the basic cost of running small business keep rising faster than wages. She also says that not enough is being done. Mr. President, this is one of your supporters.
Okay, good. And I love her because you said I got an A+ on everything, I guess. I don't know. But
she's still worried about the economy.
But what you have to understand, the word affordability. I inherited a mess. I inherited a total mess. Prices were at an all-time high when I came in. Prices are coming down substantially. Look at energy. You and I discussed before the interview, energy. Energy has come down incredibly. Prices are all coming down. It's been 10 months. It's amazing what we've done.
So, Cenk, do you think it's amazing what they've done? Because I have some numbers that kind of contradict what you just heard from him.
Yeah, of course it's not amazing what they've done. You know why? Because they literally didn't do anything. All they did was actually, to be fair, they did do two things. They did nothing to help is the real answer. One was a giant tax cut for the rich. Well, that was supposed to work, right? Republicans always say supply side economics, Laffer curve. So it's supposed to be trickling on you as we speak. That's weird. It didn't help you at all. It only helped the rich who got those tax cuts. Of course, they gave away tons of money to Israel. That was never going to help you. And then they did the tariffs, and the tariffs increased prices rather than decrease prices. And is he trying desperately to help you now? No. And as you're going to see later in the story, well, if you help the farmers so much and you're so pro-farmer, why did you have to give them another subsidy? So no, this has been as usual, both for Trump and really honestly for almost all politicians in our lifetimes. They are not here to help you. They're here to rob you.
Well, he has spent so much time deflecting and placing blame on Joe Biden for handing him like an economic mess that even his aides are now trying to get him to stop doing that. They're like begging him to stop doing that because it's not really playing well with his own base. It's not playing well with anyone who's experiencing this economic situation. So one of those advisors told CNN, Joe Biden is no longer a threat to them because he's out of office. He's never going to be in office again. You've got to feel their pain. You've got to talk about it every day. Now, that's what a leader who genuinely, sincerely cares about the economic suffering of his own people, the American people. That's what he would do. But that's not what's being done right now. And they're desperately trying to change course because the American people really aren't buying what Trump is selling. So in a Yahoo YouGov poll conducted in late November, 49% of respondents said that Trump has done more to increase prices. That's amazing. Well, 24% said he's done more to lower prices. So clearly, the percentage of Americans who feel that prices have risen under Trump because of Trump is much higher. And his claims that the economy is flourishing seems to also be contradicted by the fact that he just announced a $12 billion bailout for farmers who have been hurt by Trump's pretty extensive and expansive tariffs, right? So soybean farmers in particular have been harmed by his tariffs policy. In fact, farm bankruptcies rose by nearly 50% through the first 9 months of 2025 compared with the same time period last year. Soybean farmers, as I mentioned, have been hurt the hardest. And it's because of this US-China trade war. The Trump administration's tariffs on China earlier this year cut Beijing's imports of US soybeans from their usual 29 million metric tons of beans annually to zero until a deal was reached at the end of October. But even though there is this shaky deal in place, the trade war did significantly hurt these farmers, and that damage is really hard to come out of. So ABC News reports that soybean prices still lagged because of stifled demand, and farmers saw their third straight year of losses, in large part due to tariff turmoil. So the Trump administration is throwing farmers a temporary lifeline to help pay down their debts and finance next year's planting season. Now, if you're wondering what exactly does this package include, it includes $11 billion in one-time payments to crop farmers through a new Department of Agriculture bridge payment program. The remaining funds will then go to other crops not covered by that program. And by the way, the unemployment data isn't looking good either. Just to give you the numbers real quick, forecasters surveyed by the firm FactSet predict that employers added fewer than 38,000 jobs in November, and that the unemployment rate ticked up to 4.5% from September's 4.4%. That would be low by historical standards, but the highest in nearly 4 years. And we don't have data from October because of the government shutdown. We didn't get a jobs report. But according to the Economic Policy Institute, the Trump administration radically restricted Bureau of Labor Statistics operations during the government shutdown. And the administration now says they won't be issuing an October report retroactively either. And to be fair, if I were a president embarrassed by the jobs numbers, I probably would do the same thing Trump's doing.
Yeah. So let's talk about the farmers first. I help the farmers. The tariffs really help the farmers. Well, we did a $10 billion bailout for them about a year ago. Now we're doing a $12 billion bailout. So if you help the farmers so much, why did you have to give them a $22 billion bailout? By the way, in his first term, he also had to give the farmers a $23 billion bailout. You know what's not free market economics? When you do dumbass policies and then you have to give giant subsidies to make up for your dumbass policies. That's actually very close to central planning, which is socialism. Okay, I'll take away from this part of the economy, I'll give to that part of the economy, I'll pick favorites, I won't let the markets work the way that they're supposed to. What happened to all the tough guys on the right? They were talking about like, well, hey, if you can't pay the bills, then you should go out of business, and that's the way the market works. Now, if you're a Trump supporter or it's gonna hurt him politically, he's like, yeah, my policies suck, they're stupid, that's why you're losing all this money, and you're all literally 50% of the farmers are about to go bankrupt. 50% of the farmers in the country. So he's like, all right, I'll make up for it with a giant subsidy. Okay, then obviously it was a huge problem by definition. You can't argue that it wasn't, right? Of course, that never stops anyone, but that's true. Second of all, what did he ever do for you? Can anyone that is a Trump supporter, I don't want to say on the right, because he's lost about half the right, but half the right still say no. If Trump ran for a third term, I'd vote for him to be, I don't care about the Constitution, I'll burn it for Trump, right? So for that half of the Trump voters, what did he do for you? His main claim to fame is tariffs. And the tariffs are so disastrous, they're driving up all your prices, and they're forcing the government to give tens of billions of dollars in subsidies to the farmers. So what did he do for you? Almost nothing, but it's okay as long as he's on my team. And look, guys, we're the fairest show in America. We're totally nonpartisan in this way. What did Biden do for us? He kept promising, oh, no, don't worry, later I'll increase wages. Later I'll do something about drug prices. Later. And he didn't do anything because they all are here to rob us. And what did you, he bragged about Bidenomics. People should know how great our economy is. And so he sounded like Trump with his A++++. The Transcendental Man on Super Chat, I think, has it more correct. He says, I have dementia, plus. No one's better at dementia than Donald Trump. Look, I don't know if the brother has dementia or not, but he's been bragging about that cognitive test for now like 10 years. I'm so smart, I passed the dementia test. Are you, brother? So that's why you have these dumbass policies that never help America. So guys, last thing on this. I would be shocked if we did not have an epic economic collapse under Trump. He has no idea what he's doing. He's not even trying to help you. And there's only so much you could rob the country before it collapses. So I hate to tell you this, but buckle up, brace for impact. There's gonna be significant economic pain in the next 3 years.
Well, maybe Senator Jasmine Crockett would have good solutions for it. Unfortunately, we haven't heard any of those solutions in her announcement that she is running for Senate. When we come back from the break, we'll give you the details on her announcement and more. Don't miss it.
How do you get up in the morning and put your pants on?
A plus 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 plus. A plus 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 plus.
All right, let's go to our members on TYT.com. Embedded Dude says, I depend on TYT to maintain my sanity. I have a feeling that I'm not the only one that feels this way. Keep it up. You're appreciated more than you know. Man, do I appreciate you for saying that. Some days we do need to know that. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Michael Napin says, my 2 cents, Jake's knee surgery recovery, working from home attire is improving. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm getting a little bit more snazzed up here. Shura Azumi says, whatever happened to America first? I don't remember Israel being part of America. Mind you, I have a really bad memory. Anytime you ask these super legitimate questions, every Israel first person, which includes literally everyone in national media, says, that's totally normal. It's totally normal. When you say America first, obviously you mean Israel first. And after they get every single thing they want, and after they spy on you and they hurt you, then maybe America later. That's America first. What? That's normal. That's normal. Why are you guys complaining? Tex Stan says, I'm pretty sure that the NDAA stands for the National Defense Authorization Act. I'm also pretty sure that funding to Israel in no way enhances our national defense. Quite the contrary. To be clear, F Israel under any circumstance. I think he is clear on that. Asimov's Prophet says Congress is basically passing a bill to have America sign a contract of indentured servitude to the foreign country of Israel. Yep. I mean, look, you have to understand, Israel first, if they're speaking, they're lying. So there's a lot of people who support and love Israel that are not lying. They genuinely believe the mythology, the propaganda. Yeah, I get it. It comes from their bias. Oh, by definition, my people must be golden and moral. So by definition, all the facts must not be facts, right? But the people who are organizing this, that are Israel first lackeys and paid and all that stuff, they're deeply evil. And so when they lie at every turn, so as they're trying to rob us of $80 billion as we speak with a 20-year memorandum of understanding, Ben Shapiro and almost all the Israeli bots are on social media going, oh no, Israel doesn't want the money. Oh, did America give us another $80 billion? We didn't want it. We didn't want it. I think Israel would be better off without the money. But golly Jesus, you already gave it to us. I guess there's nothing we could do. Of course they want it. Of course. Okay, if you don't want it, F off forever and ever. Go away. Good, you're a grown-up country. You've got nukes, you've got Iron Dome, you've got everything. Please F off. We don't want anything to do with you. And you claim you don't want anything to do with us. You don't need our money anymore. That's what all your propagandists are saying. Great. Then F all the way off. Stop stealing our money, okay? Oh, you can't say stealing. That's so anti-Semitic. All right, then don't steal it. Problem solved, and no one will accuse you of it. Okay, Winter Scoop says, for Noble Mobile, what is the data limit when they hit the throttle? There is no hitting the throttle. So it's a great question, thank you for asking. Honestly, I don't know what the data limit is, but it must be super high because I use a lot of data. That's why I was shocked that I got a little over $10 back. So the most you can pay on Noble Mobile is $50. You can't pay any more than that, right? So if you're paying more than $50 right now for your service, it's the same service, same phone, same contacts, nothing changes. You spend 5, max 10 minutes, and from now on, you only pay $50, that's it. And I paid $39 last month because even all the data I use apparently didn't hit their limit at all. So TYT.
A plus 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 plus.
All right, back on TYT, Jake, Anna, and Dawn Whitehead. Thank you for gifting a membership, Dawn. We appreciate you. I was in the middle of answering a member question in the middle of the social break there. Just the last thing is, yeah, for Noble Mobile, you can't pay more than $50. I used a ton of data and only paid $39 last month. So TYT.com/switch. TYT.com/switch. patreon.com/switch. There's no reason not to do it. Please save yourself money. It's not just about a sponsor. We're gonna do you. If it's wrong, write in, okay? But so far through a lot of our sponsors, I think we've saved you thousands of dollars, and I'm actually super proud of that. tyt.com/switch. All right, Anna.
All right, let's get to the next story. Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has announced that she intends to run for a Senate seat in the state of Texas. And she did kick off her campaign with an unusual video launch, which we'll get to in just a moment. And after that, we'll talk a little bit about various interviews in which questions about Israel were asked of her. Her answers weren't great, spoiler alert. But before we get to any of that, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so look, I want to support Jasmine Crockett because she fights back against Republicans. But does she? So that's really the question here. Is she the right candidate in Texas to win back Texas for the Democrats? And does she fight back against the powerful? That's where you know where someone has courage or not. So let's talk about it. Let's have an honest conversation about it.
So first, I want to show you her announcement video, which was released just yesterday. Take a look.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her?
She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person.
Crockett. Oh, man, oh, man.
She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
So yesterday, she did give a 40-minute speech to explain why she's running for Senate. And in that, we'll see whether there were actual policy proposals or her vision for the future of the country as a senator out of Texas. But first, I want to get your reaction to that announcement video.
Awkward. Look, sometimes you try new things and it works. And I want to encourage people to try new things and do things a little bit differently. That one was #cringe.
I mean, it was an ad about her and her conflict with Donald Trump.
But Anna,
but hold on, pause. Let me just finish my thought. Well, why would that be a compelling message for people, especially in today's economy, right? So I'm not saying don't try new things and try to be like avant-garde with your political ads, but you have to kind of ground it in ensuring that the message prioritizes the people that you're trying to represent. I just think it was about her, and it was about Donald Trump attacking her and how she's a tough person who's gonna really fight Donald Trump. I don't know. It's just, it's all about her. That's what comes across.
First of all, Anna, I just got to say.
And the acting and all that, yeah. It's a little strange.
The way to win Texas is to go populist and say, we're gonna increase your wages, we're gonna lower the prices, and we're gonna fight super hard for you, right? So I don't mind her fighting Trump. I like that she's fighting Trump. But yeah, this seemed like it was all about me. But remember, she's also not running in Rhode Island. She's running in Texas. So I don't know that fighting against Trump just for its own sake, without attaching it to things that American voters care about, like prices, is a winning strategy in Texas. It seems like it's a winning strategy to raise a lot of money for your campaign from Democratic donors, grassroots donors. I don't know that it helps you electorally in the general election.
So as I mentioned yesterday, Jasmine Crockett did give a 40-minute speech to explain why she's running for Senate. And one of our producers watched the entire thing and reported back. Now she did, talk about affordability, to be fair. And she didn't really explain what her concrete solutions would be to the affordability crisis. But nonetheless, at least she talked about it. She is already serving in Congress. So let's take a look at her record to see what she supports. And it will give us a better sense of what her leadership would look like as a member of the Senate. In April of last year, she voted to send over $26 billion in US taxpayer money to Israel as security assistance. That same month, she voted yes on a resolution condemning the phrase, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," as anti-Semitic. According to Americans for Justice in Palestine Action, Crockett has not called for a ceasefire in Gaza. And last year, Crockett, sorry, I lost my place. Sorry about that. Last year, Crockett just basically consistently voted along with Republicans and most Democrats, to be honest, to provide more and more military aid to Israel. So I put my cards on the table, and you guys know where I stand on various issues. For me, support for Israel's war machine is a red line. And so I'm really bothered by what I'm reading here. According to Americans, so last year Crockett was asked how she feels about Americans who are tired of sending money to Israel. And here's what she had to say about that.
I understand. I also think that if people are going to vote as it relates to foreign affairs, which typically is not how people vote. When you start talking about foreign affairs, if that is going to be kind of like the precipice for determining whether you vote or who you vote for, then I want people to really dig in to foreign affairs, right? Like, and ask the question, which I think is a fair question. I think it's a fair question of all the money. If I'm being 1,000 about this, when you think about, and because of the conversations that I've had, if the United States says, we will throw away our 75 plus year relationship with Israel because we don't like their leader, then if we end up with Trump, we set a precedent for all these other allies to throw us away. It will set a certain precedent for allies potentially leaving us if we were to disagree and just be like, well, we don't like your leader. It's all about the relationship between the people and the countries.
That answer was horse crap. Like, what was that?
Yeah,
no, you do send a message. You do send a message. When you refuse to vote for a politician, especially a politician on your side who's a supposed ally, because they continue shelling out more and more and more money to a country that spies on us, a country that just carried out a genocide, a country that has annexed land from multiple Middle Eastern neighbors. Why would I support you? Like, it sends a message that if you're going to support those policies and that unwavering support for a genocidal regime in Israel, there's going to be a price to pay. There are consequences to that. Kamala Harris learned that lesson. And now, I mean, who knows what she would say if she's actually planning to run for president again. But now she's all of a sudden saying that, what's happening in Gaza is unacceptable. And she's pretending like she's had a big issue with it. Well, you could have fooled me based on the way various activists were treated by the Harris campaign throughout the entirety of her, 3-month campaign. Didn't want to address them, kicked them out of events, wouldn't even allow a Palestinian surrogate who had a prepared speech that had been vetted to speak at the Democratic National Convention. I think that hurt her significantly. And it's gonna hurt people who are mealy-mouthed on the Democratic side, just like Jasmine Crockett is in the clip that we just watched. I wanna go to one more video, Cenk, because it's similar. And this one's a little older. It took place in October of last year. Michael Tracy was asking Crockett about her stance on Israel. Take a look.
Congresswoman, Governor Walz started out tonight by repeating this refrain that Israel has a right to defend itself.
Yeah.
Israel has just invaded Lebanon. Shouldn't we be looking for a little more than just these platitudes about Israel having a right to defend itself? What is the limiting principle, especially when the U.S. is the one providing the armaments for Israel to wage these military campaigns, as you know, having voted for the National Security Supplemental back in April, which underwrote Israel's war effort?
I absolutely did vote for it. I voted for that along with every other supplemental that was available. And I will tell you this. it is important that people understand what diplomacy looks like. And it looks like the fact that this relationship between Israel and the United States has existed since before I was born. When you look at Israel, I think it is important that people start to talk about the fact that the state of Israel versus their leadership. Because right now, or when I went to Israel, I know that the people were protesting Netanyahu because Netanyahu was reforming the courts.
But she went anyway on an APAC sponsored trip. She's actually photographed during that trip. This is in 2023. She attended this APAC sponsored trip to Israel. She's standing in front of an Iron Dome battery in the image. So I know that a lot of people in the audience probably really like Jasmine Crockett because she gives this impression of a fighter's spirit. But I would just say that you have to pay close attention to the difference between politics and policy. Because some politicians, I think Trump is a good example of that. They understand the marketing, they understand the theater, they understand the illusion of presenting themselves as someone who cares about the people and is gonna fight for the people. But what does their record show? And on this issue, and the way that they think is just going to lead to a continuation of these policies that have led to the destabilization of all sorts of countries in the Middle East, that has led to a lot of pain, suffering, slaughter, and has put us into a tremendous amount of debt. I'm looking for leaders. What I just saw, not a leader. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to our audience in a second. They have divergent opinions on this, and it's interesting, and I want to hear both sides out. First, just on Israel, guys, I watched a bunch of those answers she had, all word salads. She takes corporate PAC money. She supports Israel, votes with them every single time. And so these excuses like, oh, our alliance has been longer than I've been alive. And oh, that area is confusing. Even the Romans wanted it. These are nonsense political answers meant to distract you. No, she's not, she's not stood up to Israel 1%. She's given Israel everything they want. Now, again, that might not be a defining issue for you. You might like her for other reasons, but the reason for me that that's a big issue is not just because of the sovereignty issue that Anna's talking about, but because do you have real courage or is it fake courage? Because let's keep it real, guys. Standing up to Trump within the Democratic Party is a layup. That doesn't take any courage at all. Now, mind you, 90% of Democratic legislators in Congress are so stupid that they don't even do that. They're just so incompetent. But like half of them have dementia and are getting wheeled around. So when Jasmine Crockett comes out and actually opposes Trump, since we're all starving and dying of thirst here for any Democrat to fight for us, a lot of people get excited. But actually, that should be a layup for all Democrats. So where you find out if someone actually has courage and is going to stand up for you is when it's difficult. So what's difficult in DC? Standing up to Israel is difficult. Standing up to the donor class is difficult. Standing up to your own party is difficult. And she's never done any of those things. So I'm happy to be proven wrong, but so far that's what I see. Now, real quick, let me show you what our audience is saying. Members on tyt.com, Stiff Upper Lip says, disagree. That video, the first one we showed you her ad, that video is awesome. The cultists are not going to vote for her anyway. Awesome, I love Cenk and Anna, but the video is awesome. Okay, so guys, remember, don't worry about the 50% of Trump voters that are never ever gonna vote for us. But if you can't get some portion of Trump voters in Texas, by definition, you will not win. That's just an empirical reality. So if you say, I don't care about any of the Trump voters in Texas, you're saying, I don't care about winning. So I just focus, right? But I love you and I hear you, and everybody has a different opinion when they see any video. Nothing wrong with that. And Dirge says the first 4 months after Trump won the election, every TYT story ended with, wait and see. Will they extend the same patience to Democratic candidates? Yeah, but Dirge, I hear you on that too. And the obvious answer is yes. Like if Jasmine Crockett turns around on Israel and challenging the donor class, et cetera, then I'm gonna love it and I'm gonna support it, right? But we weren't waiting and seeing if Trump grew a conscience. That's not what we were waiting for. We were waiting to see how is his own voters, those critical third of the voters, half the voters, whatever number you want to put on it, that can swing back and that could prevent him from doing things and that could push him potentially to do right things. And as we found out, sometimes they pushed and they got him to like challenge Israel on a couple of issues, but overall it fell flat. And then they challenged him on Epstein and won. That was amazing. But on the substantive things like the defense budget, no, they were ineffective, and Trump went and did all the terrible things we were worried he was going to do. But that's seeing what happened. Now you see it, you could judge for yourselves. And by the way, the independents who watch us and some of the Trump voters who watch us, they all saw it happen with their own eyes. They saw us being fair and they saw that Trump didn't deliver. So of course the same goes for Democrats. If Democrats turn around and deliver, I would love it. That would make me so happy. All right, and then let me give the other side. Pessimistic Progressive writes in, look at the shirt Crockett is wearing in that clip. It's the beach blonde butch body attack she did against MTG. Yet, out of those two people, only one of them doesn't support a genocide.
I didn't think about that. That's crazy, but you're right.
When you get outflanked on the left by Marjorie Taylor Greene, are you really a fighter for the left? And again, the campaign can prove that she is. So we'll have an open mind on that. Last one's from a YouTube member, Target 8059 said, Jasmine Crockett was a generic establishment Democrat up until November 2024. And that's a stone cold fact. But she found this angle. If I appear to be fighting against Trump, and not really about any particular policy, but overall, you're bad, I'm good, then that'll work, and it has worked. And by the way, she pushed Colin Allred out of the race. I got no love for Colin Allred. He's a corporate Democrat, but he was in the race. She came in and Bigfooted him, and he actually kind of admitted on air, on television, yes, since she's coming in the race, I'm kind of forced to get out of the race because she has a higher profile. And so that's what's going on. And oftentimes with politicians, it's about the ego and their own advancement. And we hope to God we're wrong about that.
Well, the GOP civil war, or I should just say right-wing civil war, at least when it comes to the podcasters, has really gotten crazy. So when we come back, we'll talk about this big fight between Tim Pool and Candace Owens and what it's all about. Come right back.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
Frack, frack, frack like a duck. Frack, frack, frack. A plus, 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 plus. A plus, 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 plus.
All right, we're back on Young Turks, which of course is an A++++ show. Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian with you guys, and we got a lot more news for you. Oh, by the way, later afterwards at 8 o'clock today, instead of the revolution, we've got Operation Joy. If you've never been part of that, you're gonna love it. And today I'm gonna challenge you guys to challenge me. So that'll be fun. Casper, what's next?
Well, something has been brewing for a little over a week now, and it has to do with this giant fight between 2 content creators, Tim Pool and Candace Owens. Let's get into it.
If Candace Owens' actions and requests are to pull the donations from Turning Point and malign the people involved with it so that no one wants to be involved, the question then becomes, what will Turning Point be a year from now? And if Candace's actions say anything and she succeeds, Turning Point will have been destroyed. Charlie's legacy gone. Everything he Kirk. What is going to happen in the midterms? And the people that once stood together are now all fighting with each other. And I got to tell you, I am black-pilled.
Well, Tim Pool is having a bit of a public crash out over Candace Owens, who he claims is grifting off of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who she does not hate, who was actually a friend of hers, and is making money off of his assassination. At the same time, he's accusing her of costing Republicans the midterms. Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, so I'm fascinated by this GOP civil war. So before it made some sense to me, it was lining up as the people who are America first versus the people that are Israel first. But now things have taken a turn. I'm not really sure where Tim Pool stands on that. His issue might be completely different, but man, are they fracturing. As you're gonna see here, there's just wars on every side for the right wing.
So I had been watching Candace Owens' show, not because I agree with her politics, for all the people whose heads exploded when I said that offhand one day on this show, but because I want to understand what she's saying. So when we're talking about her on this show, I do the story justice, because after all, at one point recently, she was the top podcast in the country. Everyone was listening to her, everyone was watching her, and I just wanted to be in the know. And I'm gonna be fully honest with you guys, I lost track of what's going on. Like, it's so hard to keep track of this, semi-investigation that's taking place. Like, she's using her show to investigate the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I will admit that I'm not very trusting of our FBI, and I do feel that Kash Patel did a horrible job from the jump in regard to responding to Charlie Kirk's assassination. That said, there are all these different threads that Candace Owens is following, and I've lost track of them. France is involved. There's Egyptian jets. Like, it's hard to really make sense of it all. But with that in mind, I do get the sense that she does care about figuring out what actually happened. Now, some people say Tyler Robinson did it. We have all the evidence we need. Let's move it along. She's not buying it. And so as she's doing these shows and garnering a pretty significant audience while doing so, she's getting attacked more and more. And by the way, one of the other things that she is doing, and was alluded to by Tim Pool, is she is accusing Turning Point USA of betraying Charlie Kirk. She focuses on some of the Christian Zionist pastors that are associated with Turning Point USA. And the one thing that she did show the receipts on was the fact that, as the head of Turning Point USA, the organization suffered as a result of Charlie Kirk wanting to foster free and open discussion and debate on the topic of Israel. There were people who were denying that, but then she showed the goods. She showed the text message exchanges that made it abundantly clear that he had been bullied so much that he himself said, I have no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And then the next day he was assassinated. So right now there is a divide among the Republican base. Tim Pool claims that he's very much concerned about it. So this whole drama began with Tim Pool's allegations that Candace is tearing MAGA apart with her sleuthing and her investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination. And she has, again, implied the Turning Point betrayed Charlie. But Candace really doesn't seem to care one bit what Tim Pool has to say about any of this. So what you're about to see is a side-by-side. On one side, it's Candace reacting in real time to the statements that are being made about her by Tim Pool. Take a look.
Instead of saying, guys, let's come together and figure out how to work together, she says the stupidest crap. And now everybody's running around divided and broken. For what reason? For literally what reason?
Because they killed Charlie Kirk in broad daylight and we don't care about your stupid midterms. Tim Pool is going off right now because he's like, it's not the time. You guys need to be mules. You need to keep voting in the very corrupt people that are lying to your faces right now about what happened to Charlie Kirk. It is not the time because it is your job to get people into office. That is the point of a Tim Pool show. It doesn't matter what you are going through at home. I want you guys to hear this, okay? I don't care if you have family members that are dying, family members who have died, if you have children that you care about and you maybe don't want to live in a world that's run by pedophiles. You need to put that all aside and vote for whoever the hell Tim Pool tells you to vote for.
So there's also some important context here because prior to Charlie Kirk's assassination, it was very clear that Candace Owens had become disillusioned with the Trump administration, was very angry about how the Epstein files were very obviously being covered up by the Trump administration, and was not at all a proponent of US support for Israel's genocide in Gaza. So she was already there mentally, and then the assassination happens. And right now it seems like people like Tim Pool are up in arms about how she's not helping the Republican cause. But she wasn't really favoring the Republican cause, at least as it's playing out in the Trump administration, even before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Cenk.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here. One is the substance of these issues. The other is the fight. And the third is the political realignment happening so fast and so thoroughly that it's hard to know who's on which side anymore.
Right, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, let's take substance first. Tyler Robinson, look, I don't know what happened there. If some people say you're under an obligation to believe the government. No, I'm under no such obligation. Other people say you're under an obligation to believe conspiracy theories I came up with yesterday. No, I'm also not under that obligation. You have to prove it out. You have to show evidence. Until we get that, we don't know. But I will tell you this, and this one is easy. I did read he's on suicide watch. if he does not show up to trial and magically commits suicide with no tape around or anything else happens to Tyler Robinson, then he obviously was not the killer.
The biggest thing for me, Cenk, is the fact that the weapon that was allegedly used to assassinate Charlie Kirk would have blown right through his neck, but it didn't. And so the explanation that we received from Turning Point USA about that was that it was a miracle, and that Charlie was in such great shape that he managed to stop his neck, managed to stop that bullet. I'm not a ballistics expert, but I've watched a lot of videos by ballistics experts, and every single one of them is like shocked by that explanation and doesn't buy it. But again, I think it's totally fine to not trust the FBI and want a more thorough investigation. But I can't really speak to the credibility of what Candace is saying on her show, because I totally lost the thread, or the 58 threads that are currently taking place simultaneously on her show. Like the DuPonts are involved. There's a guy named Pierre. Like, I don't know. But let's get to where things really start to blow up.
Hold on.
Okay.
There's a lot more I was gonna say. So first, look, I don't know if Pierre Cardin did it. I have no idea. But yeah, there's a lot of questionable things. Why did he disassemble the rifle and reassemble it? Why so conveniently engraving the bullets, etc. So, but we'll find out in due time. But if he dies before trial, then he definitely was not the killer. That's so obvious. Please, guys, use common sense, okay? So number two, when you get into the fight between these guys, it seems like Tim Pool's more bothered by like who's got more views and etc. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But like, why? Like, since he doesn't appear to be Israel first, and I might also be wrong about that. I don't know why he's so animated about Candace's theories. So if I don't agree with some of Candace's theories, and I certainly don't, I don't think that the First Lady of France is a dude. So what? I don't agree with that theory. If I don't agree with any of her theories, it doesn't bother me, right? And so if he's worried that she's splitting the Republican vote apart, okay, but to what end, right?
But also, how about you blame the Trump administration for failing to follow through on its promises on the Epstein files, for edging toward a regime change war in Venezuela, for continuing the genocidal campaign that Israel is carrying out in Gaza. Like, these are things that have actually divided the MAGA base. To say that Candace Owens unilaterally is doing that is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, one easy guide stick for all of you out there, and it doesn't matter if this is on the left or the right, is that media host looking out for the voters and the principles of your side or anything that you believe in, right? Or is he looking out for politicians, even when those politicians betray the things that you want? So that's why we challenged Obama and Biden so aggressively here on the Young Turks, because I don't really care about their egos and their status and their titles. I care, did they deliver for you? So I think that's what Tim Pool and Candace and everybody else should be looking out for. There, I'm not so scoring between those two on that one. It appears Candace is looking out more for what the MAGA voters originally wanted, and Pool in this case seems to be looking out more for what the politicians want.
So the thumbnail to Candace's response, or at least the video contained a response to Tim Pool's allegations. The thumbnail to that video featured a tiny photo of Tim Pool, and now he thinks that by including an image of him in the thumbnail, she's trying to get people to think that maybe he had something to do with Charlie Kirk's assassination. But I don't think that's what she's trying to do. I think she just included his image because in the content of that video, she obviously addressed the allegations that he's making about her. But nonetheless, he freaked out about it.
Now, the issue with Candace Owens is when she makes a thumbnail, the $1 billion question, and she puts a mystery man in a Polaroid, the insinuation is obvious, and this is the game she's always played. Who benefited from Charlie Kirk's death? And then she shows Cash and she shows me, because she knows that people who don't pay attention, she knows that regular people scrolling through, they read headlines and they see photos, they insinuate, they connect, and they move on. And that was the point of what she was doing. I believe that it is intentional on her part. The question is, what is the outcome of what she's doing as she pushes these psychopath grifter conspiracies so she can profit off of the death of Charlie Kirk while spitting on his grave and smiling as she does.
Now, things escalated further following something that he alleged happened. He posted about it on X, and then we're going to show you some video clips of him talking about it. And by the way, this is horrific. Okay, so he wrote that, and this is a post from December 6th. Last night, a vehicle, meaning on December 5th, a vehicle approached our property and opened fire. No one was hurt, luckily. Our security team is reviewing the incident and will be relaying the report to appropriate law enforcement. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. And then he raged on his show.
When someone pulls in front of my property and fires on it several times, I'm sitting here looking at these vile pieces of shit and thinking to myself, for what purpose will I stick my neck out if this is what happens after Charlie Kirk is killed? Candace Owens is a evil scumbag. She is a degenerate. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you told me? She has no security. She doesn't deal with the we have to deal with. She's a piece of. She's making everyone else suffer, and all of these conservatives out there that send me these messages have no balls to call her out.
Okay, there are plenty of people who aren't watching her content and they're not suffering. Like, if her content is making you suffer, just don't watch her content. I don't like. He's understandably emotional given the clear threat to his life. Okay, and I would be very upset about that too. I mean, he's clearly also drawing a link to what happened to Candace Owens, which I think is unfair. But I'm going to show you one more video, Cenk, and then we'll get your thoughts, because this is the part where I think he went way too far. Let's watch.
You went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a shit about her security. Meanwhile, I get bullets fired at my property and I have to go live in the middle of nowhere. And I got strangers coming up to my house in Maryland, breaking in. I got people showing up and beating up the residents who try to live there. How the f am I even supposed to sell this property?
I assure you that Candace Owens, as a public figure, regardless of what you think about her, has plenty of people who would want to cause her harm. And I know that as a public figure myself. So I just think talking about her lack of security in that manner is a pretty gross thing to do, and he shouldn't have done that. I don't know if that's accurate about her security situation, but he shouldn't have done that. And I don't know why he's this worked up about her specifically, and whether he has any evidence linking her to what happened to his home.
Yeah, but I get it. Look, if somebody took shots at us, and we've gotten a lot of death threats from some quarters, and we're super pissed about it, and if we thought somebody was encouraging that, we'd be pretty irate. So there, he's got a lot more sympathy for me. But I wouldn't have disclosed her security situation either. Yeah, that's out of bounds. And so, look, if you think that it's affecting your safety, the safety of the people that work with you, I get why you're angry about that. Now, look, to me, again, if you're trying to judge, and again, it doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left, whichever side you're on, whatever beliefs you have, what should be your, ruler for how to judge these folks? Who's actually on your side? Well, so on the issue of Israel, for example, that one's kind of obvious and clear. If a host is constantly telling you, and I'm not saying that Tim Pool's doing this, I really don't have almost no idea what his position on Israel is. But if a host is constantly telling you that Israel's great and you should serve Israel, and is like, it's weird. It's weird, right? If they tell you, hey, we ran on America first, we should do America first, that's consistent. That makes sense. If they said, hey, we're against wars, and now they say, we're still against wars, that makes sense. If they switch their position, go, well, because Daddy Trump now wants to invade Venezuela, now we're pro-war, you go, oh, okay, the thing that I'm judging you by is whether you're looking out for me and the beliefs that we all thought we had together, or you're looking out for the powerful, right? So one way that you could tell here and is related to all of these stories that they're talking about, which is, just yesterday, there was a news story from Fox News of all people that 1,000 Christian evangelical pastors and influencers went to Israel, and they came and said that they had to represent the Jewish people here in America. And I'm like, look, I love that you're looking out for Jewish people. That's great. That's wonderful, even though you're from a different religion. But I don't know why Christian pastors have to represent the Jewish people in America, but that's the least offensive by far. It's just weird. Like if they came back from a trip from anywhere and they said, our job as Christian pastors is to represent Muslims or to represent Hindus, you'd be like, oh, that's strange. Okay, and then they said, we need to do a better, here's a quote, we need to do a better job of educating young people to, quote, plant the seed for lifelong support for Israel.
Yes, that's what it was about. It was not about supporting American Jews. Okay, they don't care about American Jews at all, at all, at all. Okay, like ridiculous. I love how they tried to make that the cover story. No, it was 1,000 pastors, Christian Zionist pastors who got together in Israel to strategize on how to, brainwash young Americans who noticeably are not in favor of Israel, to be in favor of more of the same foreign policy toward Israel that we've been seeing for decades.
Yeah. And the reason I bring that up, guys, is if people tell you that's normal, that Christian pastors are supposed to, quote unquote, educate the young for lifelong support of a different country and a different religion. No, even if you like that, that's not normal. That's weird. That's out of order. So again, it's a litmus test for who's being honest and who's not being honest. So if they keep telling you that crazy things that Israel's doing, spying on us, another story we covered today, doing propaganda through these pastors, etc., that all of that is normal, know that that's not a person you could really trust. They're not being honest with you. Now, it doesn't mean that if the person who is being honest is correct. Candace Owens could be honest and be totally incorrect. I have no idea. So, but I think it's fascinating that now there's two different camps. And Anna, if you think about it, I mean, on the left, those two camps have existed forever. There's the progressive / populist / whatever you want to call them, our side, grassroots side, that has tried to hold the Democratic politicians accountable. And then there was a huge side that said, no, you have to bow your head to the Democratic politicians. They're playing 4-dimensional chess. They're going to deliver for us 40 years from now. And you guys are hurting our cause. So make sure that you lie on behalf of Democratic politicians. So they're now having that same fight on the right.
I get it. And look, I also understand that Tim Pool has a newborn and he's got, I think, a wife, but wife or girlfriend, doesn't matter. He's got a family that he's worried about. So being met with violence like that is absolutely infuriating. But you got to take a beat, and you can't just blame like Candace Owens or imply that Candace Owens is responsible for what happened, number one. And number two, again, for me, a red line is discussing what security, if any, another content creator has at his or her own home. So yeah, that's it. I'll end on that. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what David Ellison has up his sleeve in a hostile takeover attempt of Warner Brothers Discovery. Don't miss it.
All right, back on TYT. Let's go to members on TYT.com. Rob3 Chasfer says, hey, Tim, maybe we should do something about all the guns and worry less about someone's free speech. I know, but they're not allowed to say that on the right. What are they all worried about? Shots being fired, Charlie Kirk being assassinated, et cetera. So like there's guns everywhere, but they can't touch that topic. So they have to say, no, maybe we should just prevent her from saying things. AKA Delaware Dragon says, I'd prefer it if TYT would cover news stories instead of this right-winger podcaster war. So I hear you, and the reason I'm reading that, first of all, we're okay with the like super legitimate criticism like that. You prefer other kind of content, but it's super relevant. There was another thing that Tim Pool's not wrong about. It is splintering the Republicans, and a lot of Republican voters are beginning to realize that their politicians have no interest in them at all. And a lot of them are saying that they're going to stay home during the 2026 elections. And which way the media goes determines which ways the voters go. And it might be annoying that that's true, but it is true. So that's why this is not just like, oh, fun gossip. No. Super relevant to today's politics. That's my assessment of it. And again, no problem if your assessment is different. Winter Scoop says, I'm a Marine Corps veteran and I've used the ammo that killed Charlie. It has so much power that it'll go through 4 cinder blocks and still have enough power to go through 3 necks.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot about that. And again, I'm not a ballistics expert, which is why I'm deferring to people who are experts. I don't know how to explain that. And anyone who questions it, I think is right to question it.
Yeah, of course they're right to question it. No, I'm done with this line of thinking that I honestly grew up with. My subculture that I grew up in, if you question anything the government said, they'd look at you like you had 3 heads. And they'd go, you're not a conspiracy theorist, are you? Obviously the bullet went like this to kill JFK. You're crazy. No, I'm done with that nonsense. No, the government is not magic. It's full of people who are full of crap and care about their own interests and their own asses. So no, I don't blindly trust the government. And honestly, if you do, I'll be kind and say you're just naive. And by the way, I used to trust the government, so I'm in that same camp. Suspow said, my new favorite thing is watching Anna make Israeli apologists cry and throw a fit. Jillian, now Bill Maher, very entertaining. They aren't used to having discussions with people who know their stuff. Proud of you, girl. And look, I feel bad for what happened with Jillian Michaels. I don't know why she got so pro-Israel and etc. So, but anyways, yeah, of course, we all love Anna challenging them. Lobbyist for Big Poor says, I like Representative Crockett, but isn't she taking corporate money? I like her fight, but I do worry that it is just the next generational spin of the same old theatrical spin of corporate Dems. Yeah, that's exactly what we're worried about, right?
Yeah, and look, in an interview, she was asked, we didn't get to this, but this is also really rubbing me the wrong way, and it just shows a lack of curiosity. She was asked in an interview, why do you think so many Latino voters switched over to vote for Trump? And she essentially said like, oh, it's just slave mentality. No, that means that you're incurious, like you don't care about why Democrats lost them. And that's not good. You should care. It's not slave mentality. That's crazy. So anyway.
Yeah, and don't assault the voters like that. Pessimistic Progressive says James Tallarico. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys, and catch the Junebug. Thank you for gifting 5 Young Turks memberships. Guys, when we go to Operation Joy tonight, it's open to everybody. I'll try to catch up on some of your super chats and comments, member comments, because you've got some great ones. We'll get to that a little bit later, but Anna, you've got more news.
I sure do, and I want to give you an update on media consolidation, because that certainly is happening, whether we like it or not. The question is, who is consolidating? Where are the mergers? Who are the players? So Paramount CEO David Ellison is appealing to Trump's desire to turn CNN into what I believe amounts to state-sponsored propaganda in favor of Trump, if Paramount specifically would be able to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, there's been a lot of news about this, especially in regard to how Netflix is planning to purchase HBO and other entities within that Warner Brothers Discovery umbrella. And there could be a hostile takeover. But Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, so I am worried about it. Hold on, I lost my place. Sorry about that. So look, there's 2 factors here. One is control over media, and the other is control over politics. Part of the reason that the Ellisons want this control is because they want to also own CNN and to turn that into pro-Israel and pro-Trump propaganda. So will they be able to do that? There's facts in this story that show you which direction it's actually gonna go. So listen to what we got here, and then we'll let you know where we think media is heading and if it's relevant to your lives.
Okay, so here's some important context to keep in mind. Warner Brothers Discovery includes several media entities, right? And that includes its film division, which released films like Superman and Sinners this year. The HBO streaming service, which of course Netflix has interest in buying. And also the cable television channels, which includes CNN. Now, David Ellison is a Zionist fanatic who literally just bought CBS and placed Barry Weiss, a Zionist fanatic herself, as the head of the news division. And now she's going to put a pro-Israel anchor as the head of their, evening broadcast. We'll get to that in just a minute. But last week, Netflix did win the bidding process for part of Warner Brothers Discovery. Specifically, Netflix wants to buy the film and streaming assets, but not the cable TV assets. Paramount responded with a pretty hostile takeover bid to buy all of Warner Brothers. They don't want like pieces of it. They want the whole enchilada. And that's including the television assets. So here's why that's so important. During a visit to Washington in recent days, Paramount CEO David Ellison offered assurances to the Trump administration or Trump administration officials that if he bought Warner, he'd make sweeping changes to CNN. Trump has told people close to him that he wants new ownership of CNN as well as changes to CNN programming. Gee, I wonder what kind of changes he's looking for. Obviously, he's looking for favorable coverage. Now, meanwhile, Larry Ellison, David Ellison's father, is having his own conversations with the Trump administration. Larry Ellison called the president after the Netflix deal was announced and told him the transaction would hurt competition, which is hilarious that he's pretending to care about competition. And that's according to a White House official and a person familiar with that matter. And the Ellisons have even more help from friends in pretty high places. And if you're wondering who I'm talking about, well, 3 Middle East sovereign wealth funds and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are among the financial backers of Paramount's bid. Why are we having 3 Middle Eastern countries involved in the hostile takeover of American media companies? But anyway, thus far, Trump has not publicly thrown his support behind Paramount or Netflix. You want to know why? Because he's probably waiting to see who's going to pleasure him the most in an effort to win this war, right? And sure enough, Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos has also visited the White House on at least one occasion. So only time will tell which entertainment Goliath gets their hands on Warner Brothers Discovery. But for now, let's just, for the sake of discussion, assume that it's going to be Paramount, that Paramount and David Ellison win this bidding war. We can look to CBS News as an example of how CNN could be revamped, right? So obviously it'll be more favorable to Trump. That's what he's demanding. But yesterday it was also reported that Tony Dokupil, who will basically become the next anchor for CBS Evening News. If you're wondering, wait, I've heard that name, but I don't really remember who that guy is or why I've heard that name before. You might remember that he had a bit of an exchange with author Ta-Nehisi Coates about Gaza, about the West Bank, about the apartheid state of Israel. Let's take a look.
I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist.
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries have a right to exist?
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
So again, Dokupil, the gentleman that you saw in that argument, will now be the new anchor for CBS Evening News.
Yeah, so David Ellison basically said publicly that Barry Weiss's pro-Israel stance led him to wanting to purchase her company, and at a premium. She got much higher valuation than the numbers seem to indicate, and she's the most pro-Israel person in media. She's the one that started cancel culture on college campuses, trying to get professors fired if they criticize Israel accurately. And so now she's the head of CBS, and she picks the most pro-Israel anchor, of course. But if you say these things which are factual, people will tell you, oh no, you shouldn't have a career in media. That's offending people. Okay, well, I'm offended by all the massacres and the slaughters of Israel. All right, we've covered that. So now what they're trying to do here is take over CNN as well. And what they're saying to Trump is, look, you're gonna get a lot of wins if you kill the Netflix deal and let Paramount buy Warner Brothers instead. And Trump can unilaterally do that. If he says, I don't want to approve the merger, his government will not approve the merger. That's not how it's supposed to work. They're actually supposed to see, wait, is it a monopoly or an oligopoly? Is there competitive problems here? But Trump doesn't bother with any of that. He just says, no, if I say it, that's it, you do it. And this isn't about helping the American people and the American markets. This is about helping me. So Paramount brings in his son-in-law. They bring in other friendly countries to Trump, like Qatar. So now he's got Israel on that side, and he has Saudi Arabia and Qatar on that side. They then, say that they're also going to change CNN to help Trump. So, okay, this is how this game is played. So this has nothing to do with our laws and what's going to help you or not help you. What's going to create a free marketplace that says everything to do with how do we please the politician in charge so that we could help Israel do more propaganda in this country. Now, it seems like we're focusing a lot on that one particular part. And by the way, I don't know why Qatar and Saudi Arabia are helping them do this. That's crazy to me, that's mental. But hey, I don't want Israel controlling us. I also don't want Saudi Arabia or Qatar controlling us. I don't want any other country controlling our media, which is obviously what's happening here. We're in an open auction, literally, to do propaganda for Americans. The other countries find that so valuable, they're way overpaying for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers' value has now doubled because of this bidding war. And that's crazy. So the one good thing out of this is that it is entirely, and Warner Brothers is, in my opinion, has totally incompetent management. They loaded it up with debt, and they're getting rescued here by this frenzy started by Ellison to try to swallow up as much of the media as possible for his political purposes. And so if Warner Brothers is the pile of dung that I think it is, economically, financially, not their actual products, then paying twice as much for that pile of dung is not going to be good business, especially for Paramount, which won't have a real, in my opinion, effective enough competing streaming network to Netflix, and has an old business TV and movies that are absolutely on their deathbed. So it might turn out that this cost them a lot of money to win this war. And yeah, I guess Israel would get more financing from America, but they were gonna get that anyway. But they might be left with a bag of goods that they got overexcited about buying.
Let's hope that's the case. If the deal goes through in Paramount's favor, we got to take a break. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about a potential shakeup in Trump's cabinet. We'll tell you who might get the boot soon when we return.
A plus, 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 plus.
All right, let's go to Super Chat. Catch the June Bug says, Candace is really on it. It's confusing, but once you see it all, you know. I think it's a big part of the Great Awakening. Thank you for all you do, Anna and Cenk. Thankful for TYT. Okay, God bless. Sid Life 365 says, Anna, run for office. You have a beautiful heart. I would vote for you if I could. So, look, there's two different parts of politics. One is getting to be considered an official candidate by the rest of the press, and the other is actually competing on an even playing field. So if Anna got to an even playing field, there isn't any office in the country she couldn't win. That's my opinion, and I'm positive of it.
You're insane. Okay, let's move off this topic.
I'm not at all.
It's not going to happen. It's a waste of time.
I got you. Okay. But can she actually get to an even playing field? No, the media will be like, a YouTube person, online personality. You're not even bought by Israel. So who knows, maybe. Anyways, she doesn't want to do it. Deb Long, 1083 says, if Trump says he's for farmers and is giving them a bailout, why is he threatening to tariff potash from Canada? Who's advising him, or is he just trying to tariff us out of existence? Deb, the tariffs are mainly Trump's crazy idea, and you can't talk him out of it. So, and there is no secret advisor who's telling him it's a genius idea. They're all going, yes, sir, of course, sir. Fawaz Synthetic Soul says, in reality, current economy is astronomically big, F negative and infinite. And if you complain, then you will be anti-American and an anti-Semite. And then he says, correction, in Trump's world, his insanity is also A+++ infinite. And if anyone challenges him with statistics, that's it. The whole community will be deported, labeled an anti-Semite and anti-American. You have to throw an anti-Semite for everything now. Always Reason says, what's the alternative? Working for, in terms of us challenging America so enthusiastically, giving Israel everything they want and letting them spy on us, etc. What's the alternative? Working for Qatar and Russia? To be honest, if that's the choice, I'd go for Israel. Good news, that's not your only choice. In fact, none of those are a good choice. I would hate America working for any of those countries or any other country, period. The obvious choice is, why don't American politicians work for Americans? I know it's crazy. And every once in a while, the Israeli, I'm not saying that person was, but Israel first propagandists will be like, oh, you don't want Americans working for Israel. I guess you want them working for Saudi Arabia. No, not the only two choices. I want them working for us, the American voters. Gasly says on YouTube member section, well, Saudi Arabia now owns 100% of EA Electronic Arts, all brokered. Yep. Vedentron says the video was terrible. Trump doesn't like me is not good. This is about Jasmine Crockett's video. Trump doesn't like me is not good enough. What is she going to do for the American people? They write in caps. Dalton Pierce 7622 says she would have had my vote, but now that I know this, not anymore. I had much hope for her. Guys, of course, it depends on primary or general election. Someone else suggested Talarico, he's also running in the primary. That's the real vote. Generals do. Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna. News.
Let's get to our next story.
I don't know. I think being in the government is more than an ego trip. Because that's Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security secretary, on a horse in South Dakota on a work day. Every day is a work day when you're the DHS secretary. We got a lot of things going on. She's a great person, I'm sure, but less time on the horse and more time at the office with the files, okay? We know you look great, but I think there are more important things to do.
Wow, looks like DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has lost favor among some on the right. And her role as DHS Secretary could be in jeopardy as a result of that. At least that's what various reports have been airing in recent months. And these allegations are really heating up. Now, insiders say that she might even be out of a job in the new year. Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, is it really because of that ad? Is it really because she's not doing a good job at Department of Homeland Security? Or is it because of who she's sleeping with? That's real. And so we're gonna tell you all about that, and then we'll all decide together what's the real reason that she might be on the outs.
And we will also get more of Greg Kelly's arguments against Kristi Noem and how annoyed he is that she's on a horse. But nonetheless, let's move on. So the distaste for Kristi Noem actually goes beyond Newsmax, it seems. So rumors that Noem may soon lose her job have been circulating for weeks. So first, there was a CNN report, this is weeks back, and it noted that she's in a list of cabinet officials who could be let go by the Trump administration. The report claimed that while Trump himself has been pretty happy with Kristi Noem, it turns out that top White House officials have actually grown frustrated with her tenure. Then you have the Bulwark, which I should note is pretty hostile to the Trump administration. These are mostly like never Trump Republican types, but nonetheless, they spoke to 3 former DHS officials who served in the Biden and Trump administrations. Now, they're still in regular contact with the current staff, who confirmed that talks about potentially replacing Kristi Noem are in fact taking place. 2 of these officials said that they believe such a move could happen really soon, relaying that they've been told Noem has been taking on less of a role in directing department memos, but they and the 3rd official also cautioned that the situation is fluid, okay? So in addition to that, you have the Bulwark reporting that Trump could decide to let Noem oversee the launch of new enforcement operations planned for January and February. And as always, the president's views are fickle and often heavily influenced by the latest person to grab his ear. So what is Noem doing that's leaving a sour taste in the leadership's mouth? It's a weird way of putting it. It's probably because of the fact that she's allegedly having some sort of affair. I don't know how true this is. These are the rumors that she's allegedly having an affair with former senior Trump advisor Corey Lewandowski. Okay, so one DHS official told the Daily Beast that things are effed. It's horrible. They're going to destroy this place. I'm just hoping the new secretary gets here in time. So the affair is allegedly DC's worst kept secret, as it's being referred to in DC, I guess. And while their romantic relations have been repeatedly denied by both parties, there's really no hiding how close they are. So Lewandowski is also known as Noem's gatekeeper, traveling with her, weighing in on personnel matters, and shaping DHS enforcement. Now, keep in mind that Lewandowski is right now an unpaid special government employee. And based on what our laws and regulations indicate, he can only work for 130 days per year in that type of position. Axios is reporting that the White House has already begun quietly, investigating whether he's been undercounting his days. Now, last month, the Wall Street Journal reported that Noem and Lewandowski attempted to order 10 Spirit airline jets without realizing some things. So let me get to the details. Officials across ICE say that Noem and Lewandowski have directed them to use a $170 billion infusion of cash from Congress to launch splashy ideas that have proven ineffective or impractical. So the pair ordered ICE officials to buy 10 737 jets from Spirit Airlines that they said would be used to boost deportation flights and for their own travel, according to people familiar with the matter. Some officials warned the pair that the effort would be prohibitively expensive compared with hiring more flight contractors. But once officials looked into the proposal, they learned that Spirit, which filed for bankruptcy for a second time in August, didn't own the planes. The planes also didn't have engines, which would need to be purchased separately. They're really killing it over there at DHS, really dotting their I's, crossing their T's, thorough work. Cenk.
Yeah. First of all, I wouldn't even make undocumented criminals fly on Spirit. That's too cruel. Okay.
Agreed.
Second of all, there's a couple of different issues here. One is the incompetence. The other is potential corruption. And the third is this affair that they're having. And there's a couple of, or potentially having, and a couple of different reasons why that might bother people, right? So number one, the incompetence is obvious. I mean, the people are like, look into the planes you're buying, please. And they're like, oh no, we got this. And it turns out the planes don't have engines. No, you obviously didn't have this, and you're buffoons. Which then leads me to the question of why do they want to buy those planes in the first place? So what the Trump administration has done is loaded up the Department of Homeland Security and the Defense Department with a massive, unprecedented amount of pork. And I guarantee you those places are going to get robbed blind. Corey Lewandowski is one of the worst actors in politics. And so Trump generally likes him because he's such a terrible guy. And since Lewandowski will do the dirtiest tricks and has not in the past seemed to have much problems with corruption, peas of a pod, right? So that Trump likes him for that, and they used to work together, to be fair to them, effectively in 2016, and then obviously they won the presidency. But he's had a falling out with Lewandowski because Lewandowski, according to these rumors, keeps having sex with people that Trump likes and finds attractive. And so before, in the first term, it was someone else in the White House. I don't even want to say the names, because I have no idea if these are true. But this one, like literally everyone is talking about how they're both married and they seem to be having an affair for a long time. They do these splashy things in public that are like outrageous. So Trump no like that. And then there are others who go, well, wait, I thought we were family values and this isn't a good look. But I think that the family values thing is probably the very, very least relevant thing there is, because that's like Republican 101 to go, oh, we're for family values. And then have them do all sorts of terrible, immoral things. But so out of all of those, Anna, what do you think is the real reason that she might be on her way out?
You never know what's happening internally. Usually there are conflicts and beefs that we're not privy to. And this is politics. I mean, I think that DHS under Kristi Noem has been plenty vicious, and that's what the Trump administration likes and wants. So I think that there might be something that we're just not aware of that has led to some people souring on Kristi Noem. But I will say this, I don't think her cosplaying and all of her photo shoots really did much to garner favor among voters. And I'm talking about, Republican voters. So maybe that's part of it too. Who knows? But I'm going to wait and see what happens. I mean, for now, these are rumors and, some reports based on sources who don't want to go on the record. So you should take it with somewhat of a grain of salt.
Yeah, super last thing on it is, look, is Trump going to fire her for corruption or incompetence?
No, he loves that.
Of course not, right? That's not the bug, that's the feature. So whatever it is, it's personal. And it might not necessarily be the affair, it might be something else. But Lewandowski rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Apparently he rubs one person the right way. Anyway. Allegedly.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how it plays out, but none of this helps the voters at all. And planes should have engines.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Operation Joy is next. And I'm gonna read some comments that have a lot of joy. You guys are gonna love this. And then let's do a little bit of a challenge there too. So stay around, everybody. It's free and open to everyone. We'll see you in a minute. Back on Young Turks here, Cenk and Anna. Before we go to Operation Joy, I'd like to read a bunch of the comments that I didn't get to during the show. I think that they're important. So I'll do the best I can, then we'll get to all your beautiful, beautiful comments about the joy in your life. We'll show you cute pet pictures. So this is the feel-good section of the program for the week. Double O wrote in on YouTube member section. I looked into the Noble mobile data limit that other chatter asked about. They say there isn't any throttling, but 20 gigabytes is the point beyond which you won't get any money back. I'm gonna switch to it soon. Oh, that's awesome. So thank you for answering that question. I should have known it already, but I love you that you guys looked it up. There's no throttling at all. You can use as much data as you want. The most you pay is $50. But if you're under 20 gigabytes, which apparently I was last week, you get money back on top. So tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. Okay, Ambidextrous Rex says about inflation. It's wild that even though his supporters admit everything is still unaffordable under Trump, they still love him. But remember, Biden screwed up a lot of things, and like 2/3 of Democratic voters were like, no, he's our boy, all the way up to the debate. So it does. That kind of blindness can happen to either side, unfortunately. Mona Contrarian says, it's such a hopeful leap forward, in my opinion, that every report on this bill, referring to the Defense Authorization Act, I've seen today, the number one thing mentioned is the Israel carve-outs. You guys did that, and I love you for it. Well, that's beautiful of you to say. It certainly wasn't us alone, but the fact that we're emphasizing that and now it's forcing and kind of embarrassing the rest of the media to point out these outrageous contradictions and hypocrisies on behalf of Israel, that's amazing. I never thought that was possible. So I'm as excited as you are. Yeah.
Can I read a comment?
Yeah, of course.
Mark NYC in our member section says, I really like this Jenks 2 cents bit. So at this point, I'm hating the comment. I'm just keeping it real, Mark. But then I love the comment, the rest of it. It seems to mentally limit Jenk to just a few sentences instead of a 12-minute blab fest. You gave me joy today, thank you.
Boo. All right. So back to the important comments. I was gonna read that too. Anyway, Kevin Shea says,
Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no.
Last one from YouTube members. Kevin Shea said, has Israel bought off any other government, or are we the lucky ones? Well, yes, they have enormous influence in European governments, and that's due to a variety of factors. But no, we are by far the most corrupted by Israel. Why? Because we're the ones that allow unlimited money in politics. And Israel is doing what's logical. They're buying off a much richer country for like $1, and we're giving them $1,000 back. You'd kind of be an idiot not to do it. That's why Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and all those other countries are jumping into the game. So yeah, we're unfortunately have the most corrupt system. So that's why Israel has the most control here. Denise writes in on Twitch, love Jasmine and got excited about running for Senate. But yes, she's very hesitant to condemn Israel and their atrocities. Thank you, TYT, for confirming what I already suspected. Now, not sure if I'll vote for her. What I was saying when I got cut off and during one of the social breaks, and that's partly why I wanted to come back to these comments, is guys, always make a difference between the primary and the general. In the general, they're gonna run against somebody like Ken Paxton, who is deeply corrupt and has no redeeming qualities at all. Between Jasmine Crockett and Ken Paxton, it is not a close call. That's super easy, Crockett all the way. But that is not your only choice, and you should look into the primaries, which are more important, and that's where you can pick a great candidate that has a better chance of winning. And I'm open-minded on the whole thing. And yes, we'll try to have Talarico on the show, and if Jasmine Crockett wants to come on, we'd love to have her on as well. By the way, if they want to do a debate, super happy to do that here at TYT. Chi-Town's Finest 312 says Jasmine equaling supporting character, not a leader. The more I learn about her. Centex 1965 says I'm not about this girl at all, and thank you, Anna, for calling her out on it. Fiasco Dragon says 100% agree with Anna. Crockett has always seemed to be self-serving. Octo Squiddy says I dug into foreign affairs because Crockett said you should dig into it. And they say, I'm still against genocide. Are you not, Jasmine?
I gotta say, pause. I am a little bit relieved. I was expecting people to like freak out at my criticism of Jasmine Crockett, but thank you. Thank you for hearing us out. And yeah, for me, it's about the issues. It's not about anything else. I mean, you want to be a public servant. So what are you going to do to serve the people of Texas and this country? That's all that matters. And again, the Israel thing. I'm not a single issue voter per se, but if there's any evidence that, the candidate has a hard on for Israel, I will probably not vote for that person.
Yeah, but it's not about the issue of Israel. It's more about the issue of, do you represent us or the donors? Because if you represent the donor class, you're useless. Yeah. It's just a proxy for all of the corruption, really. It's an obvious and brazen proxy. But you could use oil companies instead or big pharma instead as well.
And also, guys, the only way that we don't have the money, right? Like and I'm talking broadly, the left-wing electorate or the anti-war electorate. We're not organized. We can't compete with the billionaires who buy our politicians. But when you make it abundantly clear that there is a political price to pay from the voters for going along with Israel's agenda, well, it's going to send a message to candidates, right? Yeah. Which is why like you're now having like APAC trying to be like sneaky and like rebrand so they can keep buying our politicians without people knowing, because more and more voters are aware of the Israel lobby and how powerful it is. And so they're starting to ask candidates about, hey, are you taking APAC money? Are you taking money from the Israel lobby? That's one of the more positive developments. We, the people, do have the power. The question is, are we going to wield it when it makes sense to do so? And in this case, the political ramifications for supporting this agenda with Israel should be clear, and we'll see.
Yeah, to the early commenter and to all of you guys too, guys, it's not just about us. It's about the whole movement. What you've done is you've taken APAC, which in Washington was considered holy and amazing and like the greatest PAC of all time. And you've now turned it toxic. So the Democrats are pretending that they have concerns about taking APAC money. That is a sea change. If you told me that was going to happen 2-3 years ago, I would have said, nah, I'm super optimistic, but that's no way. Everyone in Washington loves APAC more than anything else on earth. And now they're pretending that they don't want it. So that's a huge movement. Now, if you punish them in the primaries and you pick the honest people that are not getting Israeli lobby money, that sends a huge signal. So please, please, primaries are everything. Tai Chi Chuan Dragon says, I live in Texas and not excited about Crockett. King of Heart 2005 says, please sell Jenk coin in TYT store. So apparently a lot of people are liking that 2-cent graphic. And somebody in the super chat had also said that they liked it. Sorry, we erased that one. Yeah, Anna, go ahead.
I thought they were referring to crypto, and I was like, oh my God, don't do it. Please don't do that. But okay, I get it. Like an actual like fake coin with your face on it.
Yeah. Mark NYC, who Anna has read his obnoxious comment earlier, also wrote it. No, I'm kidding. John Irola said he'll be on CNN tonight. Don't forget to mention that. And so Alex Michelson has a new show on CNN.com. Anna, do you know how folks can get to it? Because you were on it.
Why are you No, I've never been on it. Don't put me on the spot. How dare you?
No. The CNN online product.
Oh, yeah. So CNN has like a streaming service, which I was like shocked to find out. A lot of people do watch it. A lot of younger people watch it and they like it more because it has like a laid back, you know how streamers are, like streaming content. Like when I went and did election night coverage over at CNN, I thought I was going to do Abby Phillips's show, but it turns out no, it wasn't Abby Phillips's show. It was for their streaming service. Charlemagne was there, Ben Shapiro was there. You know, we debated and everything. There was no direction at all. They just put us in a room and they're like, go. Harry Enton was kind of leading it, but not really. It was like very free flowing. So I'm excited for John. Definitely check that out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Callahan says, this is authoritarian when media is controlled by Trump and his rich cronies. Yep. Boy, do I miss Lena Khan. And the reason I wanted to read that is because don't worry, she's back. She's now part of Zohran Mamdani's team in New York. So obviously we'd like her at the federal level, but if you're gonna have her in any city trying to regulate financial wrongdoers, you want her in New York. So that's really good news. Look, guys, there's a million other comments. They're all super fun, and I appreciate all of you. But let's move on to Operation Joy. I'll read one last one. Bigger picture from our member section on tyt.com said, "Hey there, Cenk and Anna, happy holidays. Hope the Palestinian people know how much you guys really truly care for them. Keep on doing what you're doing." Look, it's an honor of a lifetime to speak for the powerless as they're suffering a genocide. So I'm good. The rest of my career is good. So it's gravy. So thank you for saying that. And like nothing that anyone says or does to me going forward is going to get me to regret anything I did in my career, because I'm super happy to fight for the Palestinians, fight for justice, and literally try to fight to save their lives. All right, let's go to Operation Joy. Newfie Dragon writes in, "This is my little comment with joy. I had a cancer scare and just got the results back from my doctor a couple of hours ago that my results are normal."
Oh, thank God.
Thank God. Awesome, Newfie Dragon. And I love this community, and I thank you for sharing that. And I love that we support one another. So yeah, that's great. Mariflower wrote in, "My Operation Joy comment, just finished a year of immunotherapy." God, I can't speak.
Immunotherapy?
Thank you, immunotherapy for bladder cancer. And since it was all done at my urologist office, I brought my own bell and rang it. Woohoo, look at that, it's a trend, it's amazing. In fact, that's what folks wrote in on at tyt.com/joy as well. So before I go back to more of your comments from today, let me read the comments from our website. So one True Coffee Dragon wrote in and said, "It's that time of year and my son Charlie is stoked. He even came in at 5:30 in the morning to ask if we could turn the Christmas lights on. Sigh. So when he came to write letters to Santa, I made the mistake of mentioning that you can actually mail them. My wife turned to me with a stern expression and said, 'Then you have to, no faking it.' So I looked up the address for Santa's main post office at the Arctic Circle in Finland and wrote a cover letter just in case Santa has trouble with kids writing Japanese in crayon, and took him to help me mail it. He reminded me of what life is like when you're 5 and it's Christmas time." And he included a picture. Come on,
come on, it's so beautiful. One of my favorite things about the holidays is the fact that you have Christmas lights. Like, I think you should have Christmas lights all year round, honestly. But Christian will probably get mad at me for doing that. But the second I wake up, I turn on the Christmas tree and I have the Christmas tree on all day. And he's like, "Can you at least turn it off when you head over to the office?" I'm like, "No, because I want to come back home and see that the Christmas tree is lit." I don't get. Okay. They're LED. Okay, they're LED lights. Let me live. Let me live.
All right. So I have 3 things to say here. Number one, Christmas lights are the lights that God sends us down here to give us joy. So I'm totally in favor of it. So yeah, are you kidding me? LA looks so much better with Christmas lights. And so I love it. I'm unabashed about it. Now the fun story. So my nephew Murat is like a jack of all trades, kind of literally. He's like a volunteer fireman. He does all these amazing things. He's worked on submarines and planes and satellites, etc. And so he became a sawyer, of course. I don't know if we talked about this before. Anna, do you know what a sawyer is?
Tom Sawyer?
I know, that's what everybody thinks. I thought the same thing. So I didn't know. Sawyer is someone who is cuts down trees in the woods.
Hot.
So that's apparently, there's a title for it.
So like a lumberjack?
Yeah, Sawyer's kind of like a lumberjack.
Let's stick to lumberjack.
But it is specifically about cutting down trees.
Okay, fair.
Okay.
Okay.
So since Murat's a sawyer, they Joy went with Murat and his new wife like 4 hours into the California woods. They found a Christmas tree and with a permit, cut it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not randomly. Don't everybody. Okay. Murat does everything by the books. He's not going to mess that up. So anyways, what I told Joy is, I'm like, okay, you are our family's representative and you are going to get our Christmas tree. Be careful. They look smaller out there and bigger in the house. Okay. She's like, I got it. I told Murat the same thing. He's like, I got it. They bring the tree back, barely fits. It's like National Lampoon, right? Christmas. Like you're barely fitting the tree into the house and stuff. But you know what? And I'm sleeping downstairs because of my ankle. I can't go up, not ankle, knee. I can't go up the stairs, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm camping. There's this giant tree in the middle of the living room, and I'm almost sleeping underneath it. So, but I love it. I love it. It adds to the Christmas spirit. It's awesome.
So I once made the mistake of getting a real tree. That was the first Christmas we had in this place, and I was like, oh, I like the pine smell and like, you know, whatever. Oh, biggest mistake of my life. Okay, first of all, Christmas trees are insanely expensive. Do people know how expensive they are? Like now I get why people have the fake plastic Christmas trees. But anyway, the worst part was getting it out of our unit because we're not like ground level and we can't just like drag it outside the door and we're fine. No, we had to like drag it outside of our unit, through the halls, into like an elevator. There were needles everywhere. It caused a mess. I didn't have a cordless vacuum at the time. So I'm like in a panic that one of the, busybodies in the building was like gonna start yelling at me. It was a mess. It was too difficult. Now I have a fake tree. I put it up every year. I fluff the crap out of it. It looks great. And then I spray it with like a pine scent. Totally works.
I don't know. I feel like it's slightly cheating, but okay. To each his own. Everybody gets to have their own Christmas. Last thing is, I didn't know that Santa technically lived in Finland. So I learned something today. But once I knew that, I thought he was American. So now that I know he's from Finland, I'm finished with him.
I don't know why I thought he was Danish, or as my dad likes to say, Danish.
It does make a lot of delicious things. All right, Galfer sent in a video. Let's check out the video.
We have a message for people on the left. We're tired of your shit. We're tired of the circular firing squad. And we're tired of people on the left who eat their own. Listen, we're not going to agree on everything, and that's okay. But when someone disagrees with you on one issue, that doesn't mean they're dead to you. It means there's an opportunity for them to be educated, or for you to be educated. I look back at some of the beliefs I've had, and I'm embarrassed. And I'm really glad that people gave me the time and space to learn and grow. Same with me, and that should be true for all of us. We are not the same people we used to be, but that takes time. I'm just a bartender from Oklahoma who gets really pissy about the government. And I'm a comedian from New York who also gets pissy about the government. We need to work together because you know who works really well together? Fascists. Yeah, bigots are really good at working together too. If you're progressive and any of what we're saying resonates with you, we want to start a thing. We don't know exactly what shape it's going to take yet, but we know what the goal is. To bring progressives together so that we can make a better society. If you're a progressive creator and you believe that society is more important than a brand deal, we'd like you to join us. I'm Cortland. I'm Steve. Thank you so much for watching, and we appreciate your face.
Oh, I love that video. I love it so much. It's so good. It's so good. I hope it goes somewhere because I think it's important.
Yeah, that was great, guys. Way to be. I love that. I mean, how did we lose track of maybe two human beings might not agree on everything? Isn't that like the simplest concept, right? But for a while, there was this mania. I don't know if it still exists in some circles.
It exists still. It's unfortunate, but whatever. I mean, for me, it's kind of been important to like be able to sit with disagreements and try to reach people from a place of like empathy, understanding, and see if you can persuade them. Like I'm getting a lot of hate for the Bill Maher interview, mostly from like, pro-Israel types and who are like, oh, how come you won't say that you would never go to a Muslim country because every single one of them would murder you if you wore a dress, which is obviously wrong. I don't care about them. But the people on the left who are angry at me because I didn't go hard enough, I did make a mistake. I think my mistake was the assumption that if I try to appeal to Bill Maher's humanity and maybe give him a different perspective calmly instead of being hostile from the very beginning, maybe I can, make some ground. And No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all.
Yeah, but look, I don't think that's a mistake. I think that was a perfectly logical strategy, and it didn't happen to work. You think, right? But
it definitely didn't work. It definitely didn't work. He's not persuaded of anything.
I know, but Bill Maher is an immovable object on Israel. Like, he's so obsessed. That's his number one issue by a million. Like, every other issue is almost irrelevant to him. So, like, when you have Israeli derangement syndrome like that, it's nearly impossible to move that mountain. But it's okay. God bless your heart for trying. How many other people are trying? Are you crazy?
Yeah, but I love that video that was submitted. I think that's the right, that's the right culture to push for if you want to bring people together and get some of the like big ticket items accomplished, right? Like the real policy goals accomplished.
Yeah, super last thing on that. Like, you guys know by now probably that I'm not a big fan of rent control. I don't think it's the right way to lower housing prices. Imagine if I canceled everyone who was in favor of rent control. That's it. How dare you disagree with me on rent control? That's a perfectly logical thing to disagree on. So what? Okay,
yeah, and I think, look, I love that you gave that example because I think that it's important to differentiate between the bad actors who actually don't want to do anything about lowering rent prices and people who just have different ideas, right? And it's okay to try the different ideas. Some of them might work, some of them might not. But it's also important to recalibrate once you see the policy proposal that you favored didn't really work out quite as you expected. Because I totally understand your argument about rent control. And it, in fact, does increase rental prices because not all of the units are rent controlled. So those that aren't, there's going to be a limited supply of units. And then the landlords get to jack up the prices for those units. And so it does distort the market. And there's got to be a better solution. I think one of the best solutions is we need to build a lot more housing, a lot more. There's obviously a shortage. That's the heart of the problem.
And if we don't have diversity of opinion, we won't be able to try different things and see which one works best. So, I mean, especially on the left, obviously we should be in favor of diversity of opinion. So that got away from us in a little bit for a while, but I think most people are back on the side of sanity on that one. Okay, Vegas writes in, my girls are my joy. Yes, one is named Marley, I didn't name her. The other one is named Mia because I'm a big fan of Pulp Fiction. I found an old picture of them from the day after I got them home. They're laying on the arm of our couch at the time, and I thought they were actually girls, and it turns out they're this is cat. So good,
buddy. You come over here.
Okay. Not about you, not about Charlie. It's about Marley and Mia, and they look gorge. Okay,
they're so cute. I would totally like wrestle them.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so thank you, Vegas. That was fun. Now let's go to Maggie. This is the last one from tyt.com/joy, which, by the way, you should be reading and participating in throughout the week. Maggie wrote in, this year has been a long, uneven road for my family and me. A true roller coaster in ways I never expected. Yet woven through the uncertainty were moments that surprised me with their quiet generosity, each one reminding me that joy can coexist with difficulty. Earlier in the year, I learned I was developing cataracts at just 45. They arrived without drama or clear cause, the kind that usually show up much later in life. But mine sped in quickly. It was scary at first and frustrating to navigate. But after months of appointments, questions, and waiting, I was finally able to get surgery in both eyes. Now I have what are essentially implanted contact lenses. I can see distances without glasses for the first time in years. Every time I walk outside and the world comes into focus, I feel a little rush of gratitude I didn't expect. I love that part, Maggie. And she continues, around the same time, my old vehicle gave out completely. It felt like one more thing crumbling at the wrong moment. But we reworked our plans, made adjustments, and somehow found a way forward. I had promised myself our next car would be a hybrid, and it happened. We found a 2017 Prius that has already carried us across the entire country from California to Florida. Anna, this is where you might want to pay attention, on the biggest move of our lives. I'm grateful not just for the car, but for the fact that we made that journey together. I wasn't excited about moving to Florida at first. I carried a lot of uncertainty, and the idea of starting over again felt heavy. But once we arrived, something softened. Florida is beautiful in a way I hadn't expected. The humidity is still an adjustment, but
good for your skin.
But the home we found here feels right. I love that my husband and I got to share it with his mom, and that our fur babies curl up in the corners like they already know this is their place too. For the first time in a long while, it feels like we have a home we can settle into, one that doesn't feel temporary or uncertain. That sense of stability of being able to stay put without bracing for the next disruption fills me with a deep and steady gratitude. And now that we're here, I find myself looking forward to the future with a kind of curiosity I haven't felt in a while. I'm excited to see how I might fit into a world of activism and politics in this new place. There's so much happening in Florida, so many ways to show up and make meaning. I'm grateful for the possibility of finding my place in that work. It's been a difficult year, but it has been a year that offered small miracles: clearer sight, a safe journey, a new home, and the chance to begin again. And in all of it, joy has found me quietly, steadily, and often when I wasn't looking. Oh,
I love it.
Love that. Maggie Bowman for the win in so many ways, and beautifully written too, Maggie.
Oh God, I want to move to Florida. I do. I do. It is beautiful and it's so lush. Even the iguanas, I know they're an invasive species for Florida, but they're fine. I'll deal with them. It's just like, it's slower. It's like more open. It's not as overcrowded. Enjoy Dragona Chingona, as your nickname was.
Yeah. So now back to your comments from today. Fiasco Dragon says, I'm joyful to see Kyle Kalinske giving Anna props for owning Bill Maher.
What?
Okay.
That is not, I did not expect that because everyone's been hating on me for that whole interview. But I got to check that out. And thank you to Kyle. By the way, I watched a Kyle Kalinske video last night as I was dealing with really bad insomnia. So Milo Yiannopoulos went on Tim Pool's show and just like started talking about Benny Johnson being gay and made like very specific allegations against him. So that's what Kyle was covering. And I won't get into too many details about it. Who cares? I will say this though. Kyle's way of covering it was pretty funny. Like I was laughing for sure.
Yeah. So Anna, you have a bad habit of only seeing the negative comments. Like
that's not true.
No. Tons of people thought you did great, and I appreciate that Kyle did that video. And so and you're way too hard on yourself. But anyways, so yeah, and shoot, I had another thought about it, but all right, I'll remember that in a minute. But I've got to get to my favorite comment of today. Wolf Dragon Donna says, "Poor Jenk, as if Anna never goes on and on. Ha 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 ha. Love you both."
Okay. I like to blab on. That's for sure, especially if it's a topic I care about. So,
Donna, love you. Okay,
I love you too, Donna. Thank you.
And so, all right. We got a couple more comments. Just bear with me because I love Operation Joy so much and I want to share all your joy. Next time, guys, because we're already out of time. But you got like, I want to, somebody send me a question where I get to be your life coach. Don't make it like so personal that people know who you're talking about, right? But like, keep it general. Send me a question. I'd love to give it a shot. I don't know that I have a good answer, but I'd like to try. Look, all these beautiful people who just joined in the middle, by the way, Brooklyn for Life 829 and Elaine Marie, thank you for joining through tyt.com. That's great. We love you for that. Annual membership gives you a couple of months off, by the way. So if you can, we're making this public to everyone. We're gonna do some new segments for members. I'm doing one at the end of the revolution every day, almost every day. And I'm gonna start to do more and more members only segments. But thank you for the generosity of the members to open this up to everyone. We voted on it, or you guys voted on it, and I appreciate you so much. So if you can, support us by joining, because it makes a big difference, and come join this beautiful community. So tyt.com/join. Obviously on YouTube, you can hit the join button too. So last comments here. Boomer Dragon Cat says, about to have my joy of the day, authentic Cuban black beans and rice. Yum, the chili substitute you didn't know you needed. Okay, all right, I like it. Zelda Symphony says, today was my Grinch day at my office. So instead of wearing green, I wore a full Grinch costume. I wanted to go around and take down all the Christmas decorations and steal the tree, but I had to work. I walked around their office, surprised a lot of people today. Many got pictures, lots of smiles and surprises, and gave them all unexpected joy. We work a difficult and very stressful job in social services. This was needed, and I received many thanks, including some FaceTimes with various children related to my coworkers. So I love that story because not just because you gave them joy and you got joy out of it, but because you took a chance. You took a chance on joy and it paid off. But even if it didn't pay off, I would have loved you for taking that chance anyway. So Brene Brown has this great, she's just kind of a motivational speaker, and my sister turned me on to her, and I think she's wonderful. And she has this thing that I've told you guys before. Daring is the victory in and of itself. So if you dare to do something different, if you dare to do something that gives you joy, something that makes you happy, even if you don't succeed at it, you've already won because you dared to do it in the first place. So, all right, Sawyer do we have another Sawyer in the house? Wrote in, I had the best week last week getting to be with my whole family on a cruise. This was my first trip out of the country, or a cruise, and just seeing all my brothers and sisters along with my dad and bonus mom. It was the most amazing experience of my life, and I wish it could have never ended. And that's a beautiful story. Anna and I have shared cruise stories before. I got sick on the cruise and we had no windows in our tiny little cabin. So I slept for like 13 hours straight. It was awesome. So that's my cruise experience in a tiny little hole that I loved. Tugging the Tube and said, Mary Beth here, dropping in to say hi. We're enjoying the hibachi dinner with our kids this evening, celebrating our son Ryan's 10th birthday. Woo, happy birthday, Ryan. Our 14-year-old Lydia even took her hood off of her for the occasion. We will tune in on the flip side. That's great. And last one, Doodle Dragon Imran said, I'd been holding back for a few months on news that is quite epic. I'm very thankful and pumped to be working for the excellent folks at South Park. Oh my God, that's awesome.
That's insane.
That
Congrats.
Actually made me super happy. I didn't see it coming because I was reading it blind. That's great, Imran. I love that. Tomorrow's my last episode of the year. My OP joy is all of you. When I was out of work for over 18 months, it was TYT and this family that was looking out, keeping me afloat with hope. When as the ceasefire illustration went live after all that time being lost, it was you that found me. Thank you, joy achieved.
Hell yeah.
Well, Imran, you just paid it back because that makes me so happy to hear. Not just about your job, but how this family here, this community that we built, helped to keep you afloat with hope. Oh my God. I mean, nothing makes me happier than hearing that. So I appreciate you. And that's a great, great story. All right, guys, we give you a really full show today. We appreciate you. You know what, Casper? I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate our team. Kate Bettino holding it down with the studio producing, with watching over the entire show, making sure that everything goes well. We've got an awesome team. We're very lucky. And of course, our audience.
Absolutely. All right, guys, much love. Happy holidays. We're going to see you tomorrow. And this is when we finally get to do
bye-bye.